and who I'm supporting for the congressional district on the election for the 5th district. Also, I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Hey, what's happening, guys? I'm Karan Banks, Delaware County Committeeman. Here today, I'm speaking about everything politically under the sun. The Trump, the why you can't sit and be black. I'm going to be talking to you about everything that you can think about, asking me about. You can call me about business, you can call me about personal stuff, relationships. I'm just trying to connect the community, and I hope here that you guys can call in 484-477-6348.
I'm talking about.
All right. And I am Gigi Peterkin. I am the Media and Communications Director for March for Our Lives Philadelphia. I'm going to be sitting talking to you today about the story behind March for Our Lives Philadelphia, what we're doing as a movement, and might even give you a sneak peek on an event coming up on Wednesday that we haven't even talked about.
It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot, boys. So how do we start this off? All right.
Introduction.
We got those out the way. So this we already do. I'm gonna throw some stuff out there, and I want everybody to just give me, just Starbucks. First thing you come to mind is Starbucks.
Well, that was amazing.
Because I don't know if y'all know, but the latest is now that there was a camera hidden in one of the Starbucks bathroom that a customer had found. Yeah, and apparently had been taking a lot of pictures. So it was in the bathroom, but now I'm trying to find out who actually put that camera there. Right. So it's kind of interesting. After all of this stuff,
I don't know who they got.
Yeah,
I mentioned there.
It wasn't in Philadelphia. Actually, I shared it. I put it back on Facebook, but it was kind of interesting. Of all the stuff that Starbucks is going through, here you go again with another anything else. So who wants to
We need to be curing cancer right about now to be getting it better.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start off since we spoke about this. I think we're going to start off by me. This issue with Starbucks and ATM waste is just 100% straight in my heart. I mean, I walk by Starbucks. I live in Roxborough, which is a known area in the city, great area. Shout out to Roxborough, and the whole area. My thing is I walk by Starbucks every day, and there were people just sitting there on their phones, not minding their own business, just sitting there. And what gets me is these two African-American gentlemen were there for a purpose. They were here to meet with their business partner.
Right.
And the guy goes up and says, "Can I use your bathroom?" Automatically, they get turned down to use the restroom, And then they're sitting there and get asked to leave. Not just the manager to come up and say, "Hey, listen, you gotta leave." Oh, we gotta go.
Billy Hott, speak. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Cool.
I'm calling to speak to, I guess, one of your guests today.
Yes. Who would you like to speak with?
Karan Banks.
Oh,
all right.
Well, before we put Mr. Karan Banks on, who am I speaking with, please?
My name is Josie.
Okay, hi, Miss Josie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, what did you want to ask Mr. Karan while he in the hot seat?
I just want to know, what is it that gives him that fervor or that energy to be such a humanitarian? And that energy that he has, because I've observed him in the community, I've conversed with him, and he's just a wonderful individual. I just want to know what gives him that fervor to be that way to people.
Wow.
Could be some of that candy you just ate.
Well, what drives me to do those things, I genuinely care about the community and the people that's in it as a whole. So that kind of drives me to forces. I have to sit here and say, I try very hard to be a family-oriented person. Like me personally, I just recently got connected with a lot of my long-lost relatives. One in particular that means so much to me because I never really had that kind of stuff growing up. So that kind of really drives me to want to help the community because my relatives mean so much to me. You know what I mean? I'm sure you got some family of your own that you admire and you love them so very much too.
I do. You know what? We are very common. I reconnected with some of my distant family as well that I never had the plan with because of just life changes and separations and so forth.
Right.
But in this time, I've learned to really embrace the newness of it and the beauty of it. And one of those individuals kind of gives me a lot of enlightenment and joy every time I encounter them. They just have such an effervescent necessary, and I'm always very pleased.
That sounds like a very special relationship you have with that person.
I'm sorry.
I said that must be a very special relationship you have with that person.
Oh, I appreciate that retort. It is very, very. You know what? I'll dare to say that's one of my booze.
Oh,
One
yes?
of my biggest booze, yes.
Well, I know one thing for
That's a
sure. I know one thing for sure, right? If I was your favorite cousin, I would love it to death as well.
You just might be.
I hear
You
that.
never know.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Mr. Dockery, finish that.
Okay, so back with you got some fans out there, Quan. Fans. So what I'm saying is, I mean, I'm not gonna go into the whole thing, but I mean, I feel that these guys were there for a purpose to meet with a business person, and then the manager could have been like, you know, he had to have one of his store employees had to call the cops.
Right.
Now, for two business people sitting there waiting for someone for a real estate deal, and then the guy walks in, they don't ask them to leave. The cops ask them to leave.
Right.
Listen, they ask them to go to Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Saxby, they're all public places.
Right.
So what gets me is, why would I have to leave and then not to be embarrassed,
Right.
but I get locked up just for being an honest bystander?
Right.
And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Because you know what it is? I think that I think we just recently was about to go through that situation. The thing is that me and James got here to the station a little bit earlier, right? So James said, you know, we're gonna go get a cup of coffee. Right? We walked to go get a cup of coffee. This wasn't Starbucks, this was Dunkin' Donuts. James goes in to get a cup of coffee. Unfortunately, he got there before me. So it didn't look like we was there together.
Yeah.
So James wants to get a coffee, get a bathroom. I'm sitting there at the table doing nothing. I had anything in my hand, anything. I got all the weird looks. I mean, no matter what I was dressed like or whatever, they was like, you're not buying me to do anything. I had to literally sit here and say, well, my colleague is in the restroom right now. He ordered coffee and I'm waiting for him to come back. They didn't believe me, so they still stared at me. They still stared at me, right? And then here's the thing. It's only when James came out and said, Karan, what you doing? You ready to go? I said, yeah, sure, let's go. So I understand what it's like for people to falsely look at you, you know, and assume that you're there for wrong pretenses and so forth. But it's how they handle it as professionals. You cannot run a business where you're dealing with the community. I mean, you can agree, right?
Yeah.
You can't run a business in the community and deal with people from different walks of life, and then you have to assume that this is what's happening, what's going on.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I had some conversations where I'd be in that same predicament. When I first started going to like different areas in Rittenhouse, I went to a barber shop and I sat there. I had a business meeting. The guy said, "Get out there." I said, "I'm waiting for my associate who I'm meeting with." So I bought a coffee, and you know, I finished my coffee and whatnot. And the guy said, "You're still in?" I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm waiting. I told you I'm waiting for my business partner." Fortunately, they canceled, so I left. But you know, you shouldn't have to ask someone,
Right.
"What are you doing here?" Listen, it's a public place.
It's
It's
a
a matter.
public place, they
it's a matter-
serve
yeah.
coffee,
So
absolutely.
probably I'm sitting here, you know, doing what I do best. I just feel that, you know, racism isn't done. It's never been done. It was done in the past in history, but it's coming back up. For two African Americans to sit there for a purpose doesn't have to mean if they're African American. They could be white, it could be Latino, it could be, you know, a different race. For them to sit there and for a business purpose and then be humiliated on national television, and in TV, it is ridiculous. Something has to be done.
And see, to your point, James, to follow up on that, I think that's the bigger question, problem, issue that we need to talk about, because we're going back 50 years.
Right.
What's happening now in our country is absolutely ridiculous. We're fighting for civil rights again, excuse me. We're fighting for climate change again, excuse me. I mean, I don't know where the conversation all turned around, but this is why we need to get people back to the table, because we can't be complacent anymore. It's not like it used to be, and we could just have a march, we can have a rally,
Right.
you can agree to disagree. You can't bring a bat to a gunfight. You can't bring rocks to a gunfight. We need to not have these fights. We need to have the conversation around how do we stop it and how do we come together as a community to see, because basically what you were just saying with the Starbucks, when I met you, Sarita, where did we do? We met at Starbucks. And she was sitting there waiting. I went in, did not order coffee, did not have anything, and I said, "May I have the keys to the bathroom?" And there was no questions whatsoever, and I went, which I really hope there was no cameras. But anyway, I mean, but it's the conversation that we need to continue to have, and I think We need to get the people at the table that can make the difference and make the conversation. And Karan, having you with us is just, you've just been a breath of fresh air, because it's nice to have a legislator and have a committeeman that's here, and it's not about the photo op. It's not about where your money's coming from. This is about March for Our Lives.
Thank you.
And this is for real. This is about for our lives. And I do love your passion. All of us here, we need to make a difference. So, folks, why aren't you calling in? There's some questions that have to be asked.
I actually have a statement that I want to make. I'm probably going to get on my little pink soapbox, which I tend to do. So, no surprise. So, to your point, the fact that you had to stand there and, almost validate the reason why you were in Dunkin' Donuts was
Literally.
a problem. A couple of weeks ago, when I was going through just some feeds and things, I noticed that one of the folks that was in Parkland and is now a speaker for March for Our Lives said out loud, "Hey, I have to use my white privilege so that you will listen to this black student who is also in the school." That's why Parkland is not a white school. It actually has diversity to it.
Yeah.
But, media actually made a decision about who they were going to require as being the face of the movement.
Right.
And the face of the movement is not black or Latino or any other, it's not, and so, honestly, I don't appreciate having to ask somebody to give permission for people to accept that I have a situation.
Right.
And I really would like to be able to see the narrative change, because, it's not okay for me and for Karan and, for any other black people, like Romaine, we can't, people are not even looking at us when it comes to starting the conversations about what's happening here. They're looking for somebody else to validate what we're doing.
Right.
They're not looking at us. They'll literally turn around and look for Gigi or somebody else who can be the face.
Right.
And they don't need to be, because we are articulate and we know what we're talking about, and we have situations happening right here in Philadelphia that people are not paying attention to. Our kids feel like they don't even need to talk about it because they're numb.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that our children feel abused and feel disregarded and marginalized, and that has to change. So, the idea of the Starbucks conversation becoming valid,
Right.
I feel like I'm kind of happy that it happened, because now we can begin the real conversation.
Right. We can be
Yeah,
really open.
I did put that on Facebook. I did share it. Okay, I got the, not to take away from y'all, but I got the Starbucks. I got that.
Right.
But moving forward, can we stop?
Yeah.
We got more important things, because not to take away from these two gentlemen at all, but here's the thing. Had it not happened, we would not have known that manager was a racist. Moving forward, since then, there's been school shootings.
Right.
You had the father with his son who was shot 9 times, drove, they even see the baby was shot in the back and in the leg. So as the father was driving, bullets were still being. So who's out there protesting, marching for them? I got the Starbucks, not to take away from the Starbucks, but moving forward, then we go back to Starbucks, and then we find out there was a bathroom in the bathroom in Atlanta, there was a camera.
Right.
Customer found the camera, so that's Starbucks doesn't need anymore.
Right.
But I put on Facebook, you got enough stuff going on. You were saying, seriously, we got to start talking about civil rights. We got KKK popping up like there's no tomorrow, but. Ooh, and then
Looks like we got a caller.
We got a caller.
Looks like we got a caller.
It's hot in here.
Oh,
Really
I'm
hot in
here.
here.
I don't hear what's going on.
Really hot. Speak to me.
Not scared.
Yeah, you got scared, but
Well, the thing is, the narrative has to change. Of course, you're right. We're not living in a civil rights era. The problem is how I feel about the Starbucks situation, and any situation similar to that, is that I'm not from the era of marching or protesting or turning the other cheek. I'm from the era of you return violence with equal amount of violence.
Yes.
I'm not from the era of turning the other cheek. I'm from we will punch you out. Our young people, our young African American, our young people are dangerous young men. You know what I mean? Especially if they are handled properly, and they're not just going to say, "Well, you can't do all this." They're not going to take anything sitting down. So back to the Starbucks situation. The situation is that they're trying to make it so common. Like I said, me and James came early.
Oh, we got a call. We got a call.
Really hot, you on the air?
Maybe they're having a hard time.
Okay.
He's having a hard time getting through.
Well,
Is that what it is?
well, as I was saying, me and James, we got here a little bit earlier, and the thing about it is that the Starbucks situation has made it seem so common and open that other businesses can do the same thing. But what bothers me is that when people see this stuff, they get more offended. Like me and James, the Dunkin' Donuts situation that happened today with us, you know, James took it as a serious situation where I looked at it like it wasn't, you know, because he was offended like somebody did that to me. So then we went to the store to get lunch, right? We at the store getting lunch, and now we go to what they call a coffee store, right? I want to order my food. The lady sit here and treated me like, listen, right, you need to hurry up and get this food because some people take this stuff and they pay. She treated me so bad, right?
Wow.
And it's just thing and I came in just looking. This was like a couple minutes ago, right? And the part that she said, you know how some people come here because you people come here, and sometimes they do some stuff. She said, you people, and you know what really amazed me about this Spanish Dominican person who said that to me. I looked at her, and you know what I said? I said, me people. She said, yeah. I said, yo quiero to know este plato.
I talked about that. I put that on Facebook, you know, because I did. I'm like, you know, we getting offended about the Starbucks, but you got the, and I didn't say Poppy store, but I said you got the corner store that gives you face and attitude, you know, not showing up. Like you go in there, and I gotta let them know that because you've had prior people of my color come in and disrespect you.
Right.
Don't think that because I'm of that color, I'm going to do the same.
Yeah.
So that it became the norm that once you walk in there of a color, that we're all the same. We're all going to mistreat you. We're all going to be disrespectful.
Trying to get over
and that's not the case. But somehow we got to move past that.
Well, I think the part of the problem too is the conversation. We're numb to it. Like this gun violence isn't new.
Yeah.
This has been going on for a long time. But the problem is a lot of the Philly communities and the urban areas, like, you know, I'm from New Brunswick, from New Jersey to Brunswick. Right. And the difference is that when you're numb to it because you're hearing the shots all the time in your community, it's like, you know, why is this a big deal now that it happened in Parkland or Columbine or Splash? Mm-hmm. The conversation needs to be centered about how do we change the culture? How do we change the way that we're looking at it? Because people do care. There are people out there that want to make a difference. Like for the March for Our Lives. And I'm telling you folks, man, Philly Hott, you gotta come out. Join us. We're gonna be there at the Church of the Advocate on the 28th. You have to make sure you're out there.
We got a call. I think they just want to hear our voice.
No, I'm telling you.
All right. Philly Hott, you on the air? Come on, speak to us. Come on now.
People get scared.
Is that what it is?
I guess that's what it is. Well, since you're here to talk about the movement. Tell us a little bit more about your organization and programs and stuff you got going on.
Gigi, I think you're best to feel that.
I was like, Sarita.
No, I'm talking. Gigi,
It's fine. So March for Our Lives Philadelphia started out as a sister city movement to the March for Our Lives National March. We've decided to keep going and form as a nonprofit. Our biggest differentiator, or the biggest thing that we want to do here in Philadelphia, is bridge the gaps between the urban and suburban communities.
Right.
What we learned in putting our list of volunteers, and we had amazing volunteers, was that it was extremely hard to get kids from the city living with this to come out and talk because they're numb, they're marginalized, they don't have the words, they live it every day, and nobody has listened to their story. The kids in the suburbs who are feeling this great pain but are so removed from it have this energy. They also have the benefit of debate club. Right. They have the benefit of a lot of support from a lot of community leaders. They have the benefit of a lot of support all across the schools. So we were really seeing a disparity. Sarita got some amazing footage though at Philly Cam of some students really talking about the pain of it doesn't have to be a mass shooting. Right. I lose somebody every week. I lose somebody every month. It happens outside of my house. So while we certainly stand with Parkland and stand with what happened and think nobody should have to go through that, we also stand with the kids in our streets and the people in the streets of Philadelphia. Romaine said marching for our lives is something people in Philadelphia do every day when they leave the house. We need to remember that, and we need to be able to be a voice for change in that movement, and we need to bring the community together with the media and with everybody else so that these people who live it can tell their story. They need a platform to tell their story because there needs to be a change. These communities cannot continue to go on this way.
Okay, so that's cool. I got another question too. Thank you so very much for sharing that with us. I got a question for you, James. My thing is, you know, you've been in Philadelphia for a very long time. You've been dealing with a lot of nonprofit agencies for a very long time. What do you think? Getting the call.
Okay. Philly Hott, you on the air. Speak to me. Speak to me.
There you calling and saying the phone number's not working.
They just wanted
But
to forward.
back to what I was saying to you, James. My question for you is that you've been dealing with so many different organizations and stuff that's going on. My thing is, what can you do to stop us from having this violence and stuff consistent in our city?
Someone's actually.
Really got you in the air.
Hello, hi, I was calling to ask Mr. Farad, who is he supporting for state committee?
Before he answers that, who are we speaking to? Your name, please.
Tia.
Okay, let's go ahead. Who you want?
Oh man, I got so many different candidates that I'm looking forward to seeing in state committee. But there's one person who stands out the most. Her name is Christina. She is in Chester. She is a very brilliant young woman. She organizes community events. She does so many things in the community. She is somebody I really would want to be on state committee for sure. Every interaction I ever had with her, I had job fairs with her. She is really a go-to person in Chester. So if anybody was to ask me who I would go for state committee, it would be Christina out of Chester. Okay.
You heard it here first.
Heard it there, Philly, huh?
Boom. Now I'm sure. Are you a Christina supporter?
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
I said, are you a Christina supporter?
I have to go ahead and do my research, but I will.
Okay. So make sure you find out which button to press when it's time to elect for state committee, because she is the person that I will personally be voting for, because she is someone that I need to be on state committee, because she genuinely cares about the community. That woman puts programs out there for a city that they think is lost. Okay. It's an organization that's here that I'm sitting with right now that I would love to bring to meet her so she can sit here and do the best that she can for Chester. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Come on, Banks, I have a question for you, Commissioner.
Sure.
So, how can March for Our Lives get legislators and committee and council, and how do we get the folks back out?
Now, before you answer that,
Yes, ma'am.
we're gonna take a pause for the calls.
Sure.
And we'll come back.
Yes.
All right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Calls.
It's getting hot in here.
Yeah, I gotta answer that question
Yeah.
for sure.
And then I'm gonna make my yes.
So we're taking the pause. How you doing, Karan?
I had to put that on.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I answer that question. That's fine. I'm Karan from Philly Hot Radio. I'm here with Gigi. Where you at,
Yo,
Gigi?
hey, I'm over here.
So
Hey.
there you go.
Alright, y'all.
Oh, we got a call.
Really high, you on the air?
Hey, this is Brian Chomsky.
Yes.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
How we help you?
I saw my friend doing a radio, so I give him a call.
Awesome. Which one is that?
James.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? What's going on, man? How are you? Do you have a question? Do you got a question?
Good. We'll if you can hold, we'll come back to you in about a minute. Okay? Alright. Alright, cause I wanna, because they're like another issues for y'all, but they here, how long we got here still?
I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to like try to throw some of this stuff
Throw
out.
some
Yeah, because all this
Yeah,
other stuff,
yeah,
she already set that up when she asked me that
Yeah.
question.
So they can,
Yeah.
no, I mean like more about their
More about the
organization, because they don't hear.
And then I'm gonna
Because
give
they
them
haven't
about
told
their
where or when
organization.
or the time or the date or anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get them.
I wanna also speak on their organization as well. Like I wanna speak on their organization as well. Since I know I got people calling in today, but I mean we're here. I'm gonna talk about their organization, ask them some questions, and hear from them.
And I would like to get back with you at some point if you want to do it.
Okay.
Opportunity for me to be able to speak about the things as well. So make sure you call me. I'll tell you what it is. It's Philly Hot Radio.
Are they on hold or are they on? It's Sonya. Sonya, the guy's on the phone.
Thank you.
Ron, you're gonna lose your flag.
Give me 1 minute, okay? Hello?
I'm here by myself, so it's okay. Thank you so much.
So you-
No, you can That's like, you know, to keep it better than,
Listen, you have a fantastic.
You get your hands on
I love your voice.
you get your hands on the muscle.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd love to do segments for you, like,
Tom's also gonna touch his hand.
to talk about what we people do, whether it's emergency, as a zombie, how about citizens.
These lights is blinking up.
These lights are blinking up. This question for me.
I want to talk about how we help our community
Hold on.
prepare.
Give this guy. Give
Yeah.
him like 2 minutes.
Let the song go off, and then,
Yeah, give him like 2 minutes.
Cause they gonna really listen. You notice that they really call asking me questions. I'm like, oh crap. That's why I said it's a, I say it's an organization.
Ron's fan club, calling it as it's.
hello? Just 1 minute, just one more minute, okay? Coming off this commercial break, you gonna be on.
Thank you.
Alright,
Thank you for watching. Feel free to share. We're not gonna be talking about some stuff, we're gonna be talking about an event,
the
so it's
song
gonna
is
be
almost
happening
over with.
Wednesday, leading up to our town hall that we are putting together with some amazing young men in the city. It's gonna be for the community, it's gonna bring people out, it's gonna be all change, and we're gonna be talking
Hey,
about
Mr. Reading,
here,
it's getting
first
hot.
time.
Yes, really
What?
Yes, go ahead, Gonzalo.
How are you?
You gotta bring a live treatment at once.
Everybody.
Tune in to ask questions. Any serious questions you have, please call in with us. We're live here.
Very serious.
With the
about
best.
this.
Vote Democrat.
Get out, vote, march. March all you want.
Yeah,
Where,
yeah.
where are we
This
finding
is
all this?
YouTube,
Okay.
Philly
You
Hot
got a
Radio
choice,
dot
vote
com.
Democrat or dictatorship.
That's your two choices.
If you vote the other round, we're on live. I can't tell what's been said.
Well, let's be real. Okay, does anybody really believe that the wall is being built to keep anybody out
Listen.
versus us in? Anybody
No,
answer
No,
that
no,
question?
he built the
Wait,
wall.
are we
but
live?
just the people, no, just the people that building it will be building a tunnel underneath.
Listen,
But I'm sorry, Trump, I'm sorry.
that's coming out of our pockets. We all know it.
Yes, it is.
But it's not about keeping
No.
people out. Let me be
No.
clear, it's about keeping people in.
Listen, they're gonna have to dig in.
Hey,
Alright,
Jay,
we're going on.
All right, we're going on. We're going on now.
Oh, am I kidding you?
No.
She got her super secret.
They would
secret.
never come back with this.
Alright, we gotta wind
You
it
know
up.
Ted, right?
Yes.
He said hi.
Hey,
We
Ted.
are getting ready to go on.
Alright, and I got a ball one.
Y'all ready?
Yeah, we're ready. We're going on.
My brother, I love
Yeah.
you.
Lights are on, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you show me later. Oh, this might be the
Thanks
time.
so much.
And there is Sonia.
Testing, testing.
We good.
My mom's watching. Like a very special.
Gigi says hi.
Ted.
I love you, baby.
How you doing?
Hey, Ted, man. Love you, big bro, man.
Hey, Philly Hot, you know someone over here?
Hey,
It's
Mom
going
Lou.
down, it's going live.
Hey, Mom
Hello,
Lou.
Philly Hot, how you
How you
doing?
doing?
Speak to me.
Hi, we just want to introduce you to your brother Brian.
Okay.
Yes.
Your brother Fiona, I'm on hold.
Okay, what's your question, sir?
What is this radio station about?
Say that one more time.
What is this radio station about?
Where's the radio station at?
Yeah, my friend at this radio station, and I'm just calling.
Oh, speak, James.
Go ahead, Jay.
What's going on, bud? Do you have a serious question? Do you have any questions? I'm here to answer. So anything you have going on in the community, in the area, anything you witnessed going on with any upcoming events, anything, any news events, just I'm here to answer them. This is a radio show, so feel free to ask me anything. We're on live now, so ask me any questions. I'm here for you.
You got a question?
You got a question? All
Please
right.
go.
Okay.
So we left off with Philly.
Alright.
Silly
So-
Joyce.
Philly Joyce. Go ahead, Miss Joyce.
So Legislator Banks, what I was saying is, how do we engage our legislators? Because you know what? We know it's about public interest, we know it's about money, but we also know that May is gonna be the elections.
Right.
So as we're coming into all of the elections and everything else, we don't want, March for Our Lives is important. It's too critical to have people come out and just say, it's another photo op. We don't wanna be a photo op, we wanna be taken seriously, we need to change the culture. We need to change the violence in our city.
Philly Hot, speak to me.
Hey, Mia.
Hey, how you doing? You on the air. What's your question?
Oh, I'm calling in from Denver. I love what y'all are doing.
Oh, Timber.
Colorado.
Happy 420.
Thank you.
420 there.
Did you have a question, Denver?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. What's your
So
question?
what's your question?
Oh, I love what you're doing out in your community, and she's a good friend of mine, and she's kicking it with you guys. That what can I do out here? Any suggestions for Colorado?
Go ahead, Miss
Mia, I
Gigi.
love you for that. So Mia is awesome about sharing our posts and sharing stuff. So you keep that up, girlfriend, because I love your audience and I know that you know how to make this work. As we go forward, if there is a local movement in Colorado, I would love to start triangulating with some other movements out across the country, hear what they're doing, share what we're doing, because we are looking out for our own backyard, but our own backyard is bigger than Philadelphia. I mean, we are one United States, and sometimes I think we need to act like it a little bit more. So, any info you have on boots on the ground for what's going on out there for March for Our Lives, send it our way, and we'll connect up. That would be awesome.
And set up a town hall, get your own town hall going.
Yeah, that girl's so busy. Yeah, add one more thing to your list. Set up a town hall.
It's not just our own backyard, that's calling in from my backyard to your backyard.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
we
much.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's getting hot here.
Yeah. Thanks for calling.
See, it's us.
Alright, so I have I want to ask about the
Also, you want to ask me a question about?
Yes, I just like to know how to keep you engaged. Get folks engaged, keep them engaged.
Well, how you keep me engaged is basically you stay in contact.
Mhm.
I'm a hands-on kind of person. I don't just talk about legislation, talk about things we in our community are actually doing. Me and James, like James is from Philadelphia branch and I'm from the Delaware County branch. What we do is we partner on everything that we do,
Okay.
in business and the community as well. So the thing is, when you're trying to do your event, you want to say, well, hey James, hey Karan, listen, we're having something. We'll have a meeting with you and get that feedback. And my job is to basically get you everything that you need at the lowest amount of cost and have the maximum exposure. So that people will see it and then they'll want to comment again. So what's the name of your organization again?
March for Our Lives.
Hey, listen, Philadelphia.
Philly.
March for Our Lives, Philly.
Listen,
So I'm gonna,
Philadelphia.
you invite me, I'll be there.
so I'm gonna
Yes, sir.
actually
We appreciate you. We do. We appreciate your energy, your passion, and all that you're doing for the community.
Thank you so
It's
very
people
much.
like you that inspire change.
Hey, listen, that's where we came from. I got this guy James here next to me because that's my.
hey Joyce, how are you?
I'm always
Good.
well.
So-
Somebody's always worse.
I'm gonna ask the March for Lives a deep question, and I wanna know if I'm off topic on this one, but I see every day that I've been through the Women's March, and I've heard some stories. I've followed the news with all this gun violence in the city, not just in the city, but it's national. This gun violence is a high and rough topic because of the Second Amendment. And listen, I support the amendment, but I also support safety with gun violence. All these guns and shootings and whatnot. How do you use with like hearing the march and hearing the stories? How do you feel that hearing all these different backgrounds, all these stories with the march? I've got like people calling me in right now. How do you feel of what do you get out of this of like hearing it, and what do you feel is the number one thing that Philly March can bring into making this a national thing?
Right. Yeah, I want to know that too.
Like, how do you handle all this?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, for us, yeah, I'm gonna answer something.
If you don't mind, miss.
If you don't mind.
Let us know your name, please.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
Sarita Lewis, I am one of the folks that helped to organize March for Our Lives Philadelphia, and I manage community engagement and work with the volunteers. I think that for us, one of the most important things is actually making the conversation more relevant to each of the communities that we're touching. I feel like the issue that we've been coming across as we started working on the march specifically was that people were not thinking that we were talking about them or inviting them to the conversation.
Right.
And it's really important that everybody understand that of all the places that we need for them to step in and step up, this is the time. We actually have a national platform right now, and so we need people to come out, to show up, to actually lend their voice to this conversation. It can't just be what we think should be the right thing to do for Philadelphia. We're very specifically doing this in Philly, and we want to know what they want and what they need. On a national level, I would hope that everybody that has a sister march or a sister program is doing the same thing, that they're not really just following the drum of the folks that are at the national level, because their focus is really on Parkland, and I'm not mad at them. But my focus is on Philly, because I live here and I see a devastating trend that's only getting worse, and so I need for us to focus on our city. I need for our city to support what we're trying to do by showing up and showing out. We have a town hall happening on Saturday, 10 a.m. at the Church of the Advocate. And we need you to be there. We need you to tell us what your issues are. But you can't just be mad about it. You also have to talk about what you see as valuable solutions for your community. So do that part too.
Now, where's the event at?
Church of the Advocate is at 1801 Diamond Street in Philadelphia. It is a historical location, and I think an amazing place for us to be doing this because, you know, it has so much history and legacy steeped in civil rights and civil disobedience. And so we're not being disobedient. We're just, you know, trying to make our voices.
Question, not a question. So,
Ms. Gigi, did you want to pick up from that one? Because I know you're part of this organization as well.
Thank you. I don't know, I mean, I don't know that I can add much to what Sarita said. She's so eloquent.
So eloquent.
Yes, Ms.
ma'am.
Joyce.
So eloquent.
Well, go ahead, Joy.
But I can add a little bit.
No.
I can't say that much, but I can say, no, I think that really, the fact that we are asking the community to come out and let us know what you need is a huge thing, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. Again, the focus on parkland and the safety in the schools. We care about the safety in the community. Of course, we want our children safe in schools, but we want them to be able to go jump rope in front of their houses too. So that we have a larger focus. We do have 3 prongs. We've got community safety, gun legislation, and school safety, and those are the 3 topics we're going to be talking about at the town hall. So please come. Like Sarita said, don't just be mad. Come and tell us from your heart and your soul what's going on and how we can help.
Awesome.
And as a safety, security advocate and liaison for March for Our Lives, the one thing I'd like to add is, and you made a good question, it's a great point, it's about engaging, educating, and empowering people. Because once you get them out, you get them engaged, and you're able to educate them as to what the problems are, we can empower them to be a difference, to make a change. The problem is that there's so many young people that are out there that really you've got them, you've got us. You've got our attention.
Right.
So what do you want to do with it? And it's like we're trying to get the point out there that it is, to Gigi's point, and what Sarita and I are saying, is that it's about violence everywhere. This is a larger conversation. You should be able to go to work. You should be able to go to play. You should go to school. You should be able to go to a nightclub. You should be able to go out for dinner and not have to keep looking over your back. And that's why I'm saying that you need to continue to stay engaged and work together with your community. It's about one person, one business, one community coming together at a time. And the Church of the Advocate, folks, when you've lost everything else, that's when your faith should be kicking in the most.
Right.
So if you have nothing else, you need to be faith-based. And that would be all that I have to say.
Hey Joyce, I have a question. So I know the biggest thing here that if people want to know, not just in Philly, but all over, how do they go about finding info about, hey, listen, I want to sponsor them, or I want to be in there, or I want to do media coverage for it? Is there a website or a social media that they can look it up?
I would defer to Gigi for social media.
Is there any social media where the people can
So
go
right
and find
now,
out?
come to March for Our Lives Philadelphia is our Facebook page, and that right now is really where we're able to share the bulk of events, information. You can get tickets through our Eventbrite for things like the town hall. It is free, but we'd love you to register so that we know who's coming. We also have a presence on Instagram and Twitter, and our website is coming soon. So right now, the best place to engage and find out what is from Facebook. You can also reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat.
When did you use, that's actually great because everybody does Snapchat and all the other socials. When did this establish? What year did you guys establish
Did
this?
you guys want to come in?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when did this come together?
So let's see, the march was on the 24th.
February
So
25th is when we
25th is when we started.
I know it was people in that comment, but I just want to know, like,
The
when
best way
did
to
this
answer that
establish?
is 4 weeks before we got almost 15,000 people to show up
Fantastic.
for a march.
That's a clap.
Yeah.
So we got the guns, we got the Starbucks, we got.
I think the biggest topic is also with the guns, the march in Starbucks. Is definitely the safety issue.
Philly Hott, you on the air?
Yes, how you doing? I had a question for Mr. Banks.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh.
And you are.
Man.
Who are we speaking with?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear.
Yes, we can. Who are we speaking with?
Sean?
Sean, go ahead, speak.
All right. Yeah, so, Mr. Banks, just real quick.
Generally, I like organizations that mean a lot to me. The organization that's in here today, the name of the organization again is called
March for Our Lives.
March for Our Lives Philadelphia.
March for Our Lives Philadelphia. That's a great organization. I'm sitting here with some of the most great individuals I think I've ever had the opportunity to sit across the table with. So to me, being able to help people is my passion. Not just dealing with business and politics. I believe in community over politics first. You know, I believe that if anything that we need to do to be successful in business-wise, we need to really come into the community because we genuinely care. You know, I'm not one of those politicians or one of those committee people who are like, I'm here for the photo op. Karan Banks will generally knock on doors. I will walk to the house. I'll go to your church, your community. I just love to support great people, and I want great people like yourself, you know, to do great things. You know what I mean? So that's the most important thing to me is that we can keep on achieving great things and great business together. Because the better the community, the better the people, the better our lives will be. Okay?
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
Thanks, man.
When are you running for president?
I don't know.
You paid that man to say it.
Maybe 2020. Because if I would have paid him, I think it's not. I'm not thinking about that. But maybe
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it first.
But you know what it is? Maybe a little bit of time later down the road, maybe 2020, I do plan on probably running for a further government position, you know, within my credentials. Because I strongly believe that if you want to run for office, you need to be someone who knows how to do it. You know, like on the radio today, we've been talking about gun violence, we've been talking about Starbucks, we talk about AR-15s, but you're right. None of that stuff compares to the people that we have actually running our government. You know, so Joyce, to answer your question in return, answer his question in return, like I am a servant of the people, and we are here to help you. Okay, nothing is more important than our service to you, and service to you also on the phone caller. Thank you so very much for calling. I do plan on running for something eventually in the future.
And I'll dust off my sneakers for you.
But until then, he's my rep in Delco, so don't take it away.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, so we touched on Starbucks. We touched on the bathroom. We touched on AK-47.
I think the biggest one is what.
AR-15.
The AR-15. We touched on March on Our Lives Phillies. But you know what? I want to touch on racism. I want to touch on, because actually what I wanted to do was bring some people in, and I wanted to know, like, when you see, like, what do you see when you see black people? What do you see when you see white people? Because everyone keeps saying, I don't see color. That's a lie. I'm not gonna lie.
That is.
I mean, it's insult ever to say to somebody that they don't see color.
You do.
Then, okay, first of all, it's not true. Secondarily, if you tell me that you don't see color, then you're choosing not to see me and the legacy of everything that I stand for. You choose not to see me as an individual or my story, you know, and my story is that of a black woman. It is impossible for you to just say, oh, okay, well, I don't see color, I just see you. But I am, like, the culmination of all those things, you know? Like, I wouldn't react to things the way that I did if it were not for the situations that I've been in, that I had to deal with over the course of my years, you know?
So I asked that is, you know, because there's a lot of, it's not like it ever died. It was just dormant.
It was,
You know, racism is just dormant. Now all of a sudden it's picking up a spike. And with Syracuse, with the frat, they what is it, 18 fraternity men, they expelled from school. The Klan is spiking up. The white supremacists are at a high. And it's not like it wasn't. It's not like it ever went anywhere. It was already there. It just like mellowed out a little bit, and now it's just at an upward. I'm looking at police brutality or just. I watched a gentleman when he, and matter of fact, let me not go into that one because I will get to the police in a minute. But I want to touch on racism. What is it about us and just us as humans to the point where that you know of, to the point where we just can't stand one another, to the point where we look at other people's color and say, well, ooh, I don't like your color, and I don't think your color blends with my color, so why not eliminate your color? Just in overall, you know.
I will push on that. I mean, racism is a big topic in America, and I mean, I recently spent moments of in Center City. I like all the museums here in Philadelphia, and one of my favorites is the National Constitution Center. And I think people take racism as a whole nother level. They take it as, oh my God, it's you're black, you're white, or I don't want to be with that person because he's black, or I don't want you to date that person. You're free to be who marry or be in a relationship or date whoever you want. It's not about race, sex, or whoever you want to like. It's if you get along with the person and you love them. Race, it is just it's something that's on a piece of paper. When I see race on a piece of paper, I feel like, well, look, why does that have to be on the piece of paper? Why does it have to be on an application?
Right.
It shouldn't matter what race you are to get a job or to get anything. Shouldn't matter. Like when I'm on the bus, I see people around, black, white, Latino. Race is a hard object. It's a hard subject to even talk about. I mean, this isn't going back in the day with Rosa Parks. It's not about, our legends like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who've done stuff, and I mean, it is a rough subject. I mean, I don't judge anyone by book. Anyone by book. I mean, I like all races: white, black, Latino, or green, whatever you race.
But there's someone shy of you. There is, and a majority of people on Facebook are my family.
Right.
So any Gomez, Sanchez, Henry, Dargan, they're my family.
Yeah.
My grandmother raised me to respect my elders. My
Thank you.
mother told me to
Exactly,
respect my elders.
Exactly.
There was no
100%.
color, but I didn't know that we were as diverse as we were until I got a little bit. I just hung out with family. It wasn't until I literally got older and away from my mother that I realized, ooh, we are so. So I can't imagine. I'm praying that my family that are watching aren't racist, because then that makes me look at you like sideways, because if we are literally diverse, so I can honestly say I'm not prejudiced. Like when I judge you, I'm judging you, and I do see your color, so I'm not colorblind. But when I judge you, I'm judging you the same way I would judge him. It's the same way I would judge him. I'm not going by what your ancestors did.
Oh, we gotta
It
call
should
her.
be about our actions.
We gotta
and who
call
we are
her.
as a
We
person.
are, but
Absolutely.
at some point in 2018, people still looking at us.
Exactly.
Philly Hott, you on the air?
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing good. My question is for Karan.
Oh man.
You are.
My name is Kia.
Hi, Miss Kia, how you doing? Thanks for calling. Go ahead, give it to him.
I want to know who are you supporting for Congress?
Oh my God.
Well, for $5, I tell you for free.
Oh.
We need to set up a campaign.
Go fund
For
it.
donations.
GoFundMe.com.
Listen, let me ask you a question. Is it the reason why you asking me that question because you feel as though that a lot of these politicians are not in the community? They only come around election time? Is that the reason why you asking me that question?
That's another topic.
Can you hear me?
Well, that's one reason.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that I can make sure I can answer your question properly and the reason why that is. So the thing is,
Understandable.
who am I supporting? Most of my friends are all running for Congress. The problem is I can't be everywhere at the same time. So it's like who I think is best for the community, that's a whole different process. Right now, I got my eye on Lindy Lee for sure. I'm sure that, I want to know who James Doherty person is to save my life.
I'm gonna say that momentarily. I mean, I am gonna say that once you get off the phone.
Right.
I'm gonna say that momentarily.
So Kia, right now, I'm a little torn between Lindy Lee and Thaddeus Kirkland. And the only reason why I say Thaddeus Kirkland is because this mayor seems to allow me to come into the city and pretty much do any community-related thing that I want. And his hospitality is second to none to me.
Chester's finest?
Yes, Chester's finest.
Okay, Chester's finest.
Chester's finest.
So any other questions you have for Mr. Banks while he in the hot seat?
No, that's about it.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
I like that, but we'll go back to that.
I have somebody who made a comment, she didn't wanna call because she's not good on the phone.
Okay.
Who's the person?
Jane Alexi Chapman.
Okay.
Yeah, Alexi Chapman, she said she wanted to know, she understands that it's not racism, but people make it about race, sex, etc. It shouldn't matter. But why do some people, need to find out and be become so judgmental anyway. So
Mm.
why
Who's
is
that-
there so much
Who's that
judgment?
question for? That's all I didn't.
Anybody that wants to
Well,
answer, tell you.
I'll answer the question because I'm gonna answer the question because I think I have a unique background that's germane to the situation.
And I'm gonna hit it up after you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. The thing,
I'm gonna end it.
Okay.
I'm gonna end it.
Alright, so the thing with racism with me is this: I come from a multicultural family, so a lot of people don't have the luxury of being mistaken for either. I'm usually mistaken for either black or Hispanic. Okay, so I was raised in a multicultural background. For 16 years of my life, I couldn't tell if my father was black or white because that's how much he looked like a Caucasian person. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, skin tone, everything. The only thing that was African American, I think about my father was the way he spoke. You know, he was one of those people who, like he didn't see a color. He seen the value of people, especially the hardworking. And those are the values that he portrayed on me. Now, my mother was equally confusing. My mother was a brown-skinned woman, but for the love of God, my mom spoke Spanish like you wouldn't believe. Eat the food, celebrate the holidays, so that's how I know how to speak Spanish from my mother. But the thing is, it's very difficult when you live in a time where race is actually still important. You know, I never been called the N-word. I never been called the S-word, or any kind of derogatory word whatsoever. Maybe because that was my father who didn't allow people to say that kind of thing around me. But other than that, I was taught and trained to avoid it mentally and socially. So how do we stop that? It's like, it's a frame of mind, it's a frame of thinking. It's systemic for some people to still be speaking on race. You know, like, to be honest with you, right? If somebody was to call me an N-word, right? I don't have the correct response for that. You know, I wasn't born in an era where that word has any value to me.
Right.
Like it would be for my ancestors or somebody like that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, somebody says, hey, I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know if I'm supposed to choke you, hug you, love you, whatever, because the thing is, it doesn't hold that much weight to me.
We need to educate. That's when we need to educate people. Is when that happens.
That's a word that, not to go off, but to come back. That's a word that I stress I don't like.
Right.
I don't like it because it was attached to my ancestors.
Yeah.
I don't like it because that was one of the demeaning ways, and we've been called all kinds up until now we're African Americans. But it was attached to my ancestors to say you're below me, you're beneath me. Someone took a twist to it and said, hey, I'm gonna make it into a rap song. Nigga this, nigga that. Yo, what's up, my nigga? No, that's not how we display that word, because here's the thing. It's okay within the black community to say that. I don't like it.
Right.
But if someone outside of the black community says that, we're ready to
We gotta call it.
I would just rather use it as the next person. So
Stop
why
it.
do you use it if you don't want to
This is
use
not
it?
it.
Don't you use it?
Right.
Hot you in the air.
It's not for me.
Speak to us. You in the air, Philly Hot.
Can't be for me.
Hello?
Yes, Philly Hot. Speak to me.
Hi, I was calling for Mr. Bass.
Oh,
man. Mr. Banks is out right now. Come on,
It's getting hot here.
Hi, this is Agnes, and Mr. Bass.
yes, ma'am.
You think race is going to play a part in our congressional district race here in the 5th district?
Oh!
Oh,
Wait a minute. I need a hot.
Listen, Agnes, listen, right?
That's what's up.
That is not a general question that can get easy.
Damn, it's a hot one.
Alright, so I'm gonna try my best to answer it the best way I can. Thank you for calling in, okay? You're calling from Delaware County, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Sorry.
man, I knew it. Alright, so here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, we have a lot of candidates running for Congress. Do I think it's gonna get boiled down to race? Yes, I do. I'm gonna be honest. Yes, I do. I strongly believe that anybody who's trying to run for the Congress, I don't think it'll be a Philadelphia candidate. That's the first thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, do I think it's gonna be a woman? You know, I mean, I would love to see a woman run for that position, but do I realistically think that's gonna happen? I would like to see it, but no, I don't think that's gonna happen. Do I think it's gonna be? I think it's gonna be narrowed down to a person who has the most experience, somebody who's very charismatic into the community, someone who generally cares for the people. You know, I mean, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I think every candidate is catering to a specific kind of ethnic or sexist group, and that's what some of the methods are. You know.
So I guess we're not getting a definite.
You're not going to answer that.
What about Mayor Kirkland?
I think Mayor Kirkland is pretty fair, decent mayor. For the simple fact is, like I said, we just spoke to another caller, and I said Mayor Kirkland. He generally, like the organization that's here today is called
March for our lives,
Philadelphia.
Okay, this organization right here, if I was to take them to Chester, PA right now, they would probably get every funding and everything they could possibly need to generate the organization in Chester, because Thaddeus Kirkland is that kind of mayor. Okay?
Exactly.
He is definitely that kind of mayor. So when they
We're
was
available Tuesday,
yes,
Kevin.
exactly. So
So you're from Chester?
I am from Upper Darby.
Okay, all right.
We are a Chinky neighborhood, and
Yeah.
being now in the new 5th district, this is an important race for us.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, we're trying to do the best that we can, but like I said about Thaddeus Kirkland, he would really love to take advantage of an organization like the one that I'm sitting next to right now. And he's probably one of the only candidates who has an open door policy because he is the mayor of Chester. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really difficult for somebody like me to sit here and say, how do I think the race is going to really end? But he's a very popular mayor, you know?
Well, we hope he comes out on Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for that.
thank you for calling in. Do your day.
Jesus.
I think that I want to reveal the weight that we've all been waiting for, because I know
Is
you
you
know
trying to
time.
say?
Who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it?
So I'm gonna support Richard Laser for Congress
Yeah.
for the 5th congressional
Okay.
district.
Richard Laser.
Richard Laser.
Yeah. I got to know Rich when he worked with Mayor Kenny when he was councilman and on his campaign. He's a good friend of mine. I support him 100%, and I think he's the man for the job.
All right, well,
in Congress.
Yeah, so back at you, because don't want to divert from
right.
what you were saying
So,
about that.
so my thing about the organization and Mayor Kirkland, I agree with that 100%. But let me ask you a question, since we got a free call here, right? How would your candidate, right, support this organization that's called what?
March for our lives.
How would
Philly.
what could he do for this organization that's in front of us right now?
Go.
Well, I have not. I'm sure he knows about it, but I can't say on his behalf because I would not know for a fact.
Please invite him on our behalf.
But
Saturday.
I'm
We'd love to
sure
hear.
if I talk to his people, I'm sure that they will
We
let
know
him know about it. But
May 3rd.
yeah, May 3rd.
Okay, so-
To have Thaddeus Kirkland here, Teresa Wright here, and waiting on for Margot Davidson, and for your candidate
Right.
to be here for this
So-
congressional debate.
So what you're saying is
Third.
you have to call his people and talk to him about this organization for him to get out to even consider helping him, right?
That is right. I'm not confident, so
Wow.
I'm sure I'll let them know or let someone know from his office.
That is fantastic, and I'm so glad that they can count on your support that way.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna just make a phone call and I'm gonna just say, hey, listen, right, when your organization is available, so we can meet with Thaddeus Kirkland and get the ball going immediately. Is that okay with you, ladies?
Oh,
Works
yeah.
for us.
Of course it is. Call Thaddeus.
Right
What's
now,
up,
right?
man?
And that's a 2-minute call right now just to set it up to get you guys to work.
You heard it here first.
You heard it.
Really
hot.
But I can also say that anyone who does get that spot, I have to give them a lot of credit, male or female, because right now, with everything going on in not just that district, but in the city, it has to be a switch. We need this switch. We need, the violence to stop. We need everything to, get back together, straighten it, and straighten the city and state of Pennsylvania the way it should be.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to walk out of doors, walk the store road about if something's gonna happen. We shouldn't walk our sons or daughters or grandkids out of school or over to college, whether something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna shoot,
Right.
school up or a building. Someone's not gonna argue about something. The city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania is a mess. Not just the city and state, but the world. This gun violence has to stop, and I think we all need to march together to make this stop. Because who's not gonna say it's gonna be one of your kids, or our little cousins, or our nieces, nephews that's going to school, and next their school's hit.
Right.
Now, I'm glad
I'm
you
a
got
country.
on that school thing. Speaking of schools,
Right.
go ahead, Ms. Joyce.
Well, so I want to address two things. First,
Yes.
to your thing of racism, because if you haven't noticed, I'm white.
Are
So
you serious?
I didn't notice that.
Really?
I know you said I know
No.
you said I ain't right, but I really. So anyway,
I'm serious.
and I'm gonna say middle-aged woman because I don't want to go exactly into my age. But here's the point: when I was going to school, this was relevant because we were going through. when I went to high school, I had the cops up on the roof with the tear gas guns.
Right.
We had the rubber bullets. I got sliced because I didn't know that the courtyard was for the blacks and the gym was for the whites,
Right.
and where we were supposed to go. But the point that I wanted to make is it's how you're raised.
Right.
Because my dad, we owned a bar in New Brunswick, Saggy's Tavern, and the reason that there's relevance behind this is because all the other, when they were going through the racial wars and everything, all the rest of the establishments, they got burned. They had windows broken. They had shots that were fired. There were things that were thrown. Our bar didn't get desecrated. It didn't. You want to know why? Because my dad, and believe it or not, because at one point everybody thought he was Archie Bunker growing up. But the point is that it was through education and us working together. Because a lot of my friends were, and I hate the word people of color, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm a person of color. When I get sunburned, I turn red. When I get sick, I turn green. So I mean, it's about really where you're coming from and what you're willing to accept.
Right.
If you're going to accept people to act and behave badly, then that's when you need to educate them and bring them into the conversation. Because in high school, again, my best friend was Danny on the football team, and everybody would say, "Don't mess with Danny," and Danny would say, "Don't mess with Joyce." So, are we going back to a time where we have to say who we know or what we know and how it's socially acceptable? I think it's about how we raise and educate people that it's going to make a difference.
Awesome.
Through your eyes.
Through my eyes.
But we got through the racism.
Yeah, no, we didn't, because I
No,
gotta
we
say,
didn't.
I
No,
gotta say one more thing. I know another white lady speaking up, shocker. But here's the
Y'all gonna
thing.
stop shooting
No,
me
here's
with
the
this
thing.
white stuff.
The fish rots from the head, and we gotta start thinking about this in terms of our political values, our community values, but the fish rots from the head. Both of my children, in 2016 and 2017, each one, my children are biracial, each one were called the N-word.
Oh, wow.
My little girl was 8, riding her bike down the street, and somebody felt comfortable enough to yell it out a window. And my son on his way to school. Now here's the thing, that climate palpably shifted after we had a national election. Don't think that national politics doesn't touch me. I don't really care who's in the president, who's the presidency. I didn't vote for him, not my problem. I did vote for him, yeah. These gentlemen here, at the local level, at the county level, they're the ones who push the decisions up the tree.
Right.
And if you don't like the fruit that's coming from the top of the tree, work down at the roots. It's called grassroots. We have to make sure that's one of the reasons that we're all sitting around this table and doing what we're doing. So it hasn't stopped. It never stopped. And the fact that people can feel comfortable. My ex-husband grew up with it, so. Again, but the fact that people can feel comfortable in 2017, 2016 throwing those words at his kids.
Because they're being empowered by other
Because they're being empowered.
Exactly.
We got all of them.
I just thank you for the
Paul,
time.
Please, God. Please,
Really
God.
hot is
Getting hot
talk
in here.
to me.
Change the topic.
Hello?
Okay.
Is the bags there?
It was
Oh,
This is not Banks' hotline.
Can I answer on that?
Yeah, what's up?
My thing is like, I think from the younger generation now, like the way the music is, I'm gonna bring in the hip hop for this, and since we're on a Philly Hot Radio, I'm gonna bring on hip hop in this. I think from a lot of kids now, I'm not gonna name names because of copyright versions, but certain artists yell the N-word out,
Yeah.
in lyrics like
Yeah.
but like all kids are hearing this on Spotify, on Pandora, not naming names, but
But
What's the
But
point?
does that make sense?
It's
That's
not
not
on the
radio.
radio.
It's
No.
not on
That's
radio.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Jay-Z came out and said it doesn't bother him.
no.
It doesn't bother him at all that he drops a song and says the nigger word.
Right.
It doesn't bother him at all because it didn't affect him.
Right.
So he drops it like it's nothing.
Now, see, in James' defense here, right? The reason why he asked that question is the fact is James is probably one of the most unique people of that particular race and background. Because James, like me and James' roles have been switched hundreds of times. You know what I mean? Like if me and James was to go somewhere, just like I talked about Dunkin' Donuts, just like I talked about those other things.
Oh, we got a call.
Please, God, it's not for me.
Too late.
Banks is not here.
Philly, how speak to me?
Man.
Hello.
If you answer the phone next time,
Man,
say
wait.
something.
I want to answer the
So guys, the thing I was telling you is like me and James, like the situation we was talking about with Dunkin' Donuts, we talking about Starbucks. The reason why James is so passionate about it is because we've actually been in that kind of situation multiple times. But when you hear that situation, like who would you think would be the person that the cops are going to sit here and say? Me in the suit and tie or James in the sneakers and stuff? You know who the person always is that when it goes down that way? It's always James. Not me. Not me. I'm the guy that they assume is Republican based off of my financial background. They assume
They don't know your bank statement when they go into
No, we're
it.
talking about most people. I'm Republican, being Republican versus Democrat. People assume that when you're a Democrat, it's because you want to help and you need certain things. And as a Republican, they view Republicans as a status more so that makes it different from being a Democrat. So financially, in the area where I work at, they will assume I am Republican because of my financial income.
Okay, gotcha.
Philly Hott, you in the air? Speak to me. Okay.
So back to what I was sitting here saying is this is how they distinguish between Democrats and Republicans. They feel like Republicans is not trying to help people, but they want to help them because their financial status causes them to not want to be able to do that. Where Democrats are usually hardworking people working, and they want equal equality, equal finance for everything. So they want to fight for everything. Where Republicans is like, because being a Republican is a financial status, so be cool. That's what people assume. So like I said, when we was talking about racism between me and James, he feels a lot more passionate about it because he's like, hold on, right? How come every time something happens, you know, and we in a public place and we having meetings like this all the time, it goes down, they want to start to try that stuff. And James is the one that's hostile. Like, first of all, you don't know who we are. You don't know who you like. James.
I'm gonna off topic that. I'm gonna actually say, yeah, thanks. Like, what do you? I mean, as like an African American in the area and up and down and in Philly, I mean, the N word. I mean, like, I was basically told never to say that. Never. I mean, respect your elders and respect everyone. Respect is a word. Like, we can find and say, oh yes, BECT. You know, find out what it means to me. It means respect.
Well, it's the same thing with value ethics and integrity.
Yeah.
It's not a
I mean,
of what's right
what
or wrong.
do you feel?
It doesn't make it right.
Right.
It doesn't
right.
make it
Mr.
right.
Bennett, what do you feel about the younger generation who, you know, I hear kids every day like, yo, tough.
Because you know what it is. Listen,
yo.
the reason why I say it's tough is because, like I said, James, it's so strange. Like the only time I get to experience the community element of people is when I'm with James. You know, like are we on the train or we not? That's why I say when we go through situations, he doesn't like the fact that he has to defend that. You know, he's like, you don't know who we are. And said, you don't know what we do. Every time I get to this part, right, it's always like, I know you would hear my point.
Philly Hott, talk to me. Philly Hott, you live on.
You live on the radio.
Alright, so back to what I was sitting here saying, the problem is James feels as though that he shouldn't have to defend those situations and when it happens. So it's like, hold on, right? Just because you see what we are, that doesn't mean that we're sitting here doing something wrong or something illegal. You understand what I'm saying, ladies?
Right.
And he doesn't like that. Like he really hates that to the point he's like, just because you see us both sitting here, you know what I mean, that you're gonna assume that my friend is doing something nefarious. And then James takes it to a whole other level. And that's why I say he's usually the one that will make the ruckus. Because like I'll give you an example, we at City Hall, right? There's SEPTA police going around and they walking past us while we on our way here. They looking at us, they looking at me because I'm there waiting for him. Right? And then he pulls up and then it's like as soon as they get to that impression where they want to say something, do something derogatory, James hit him with the government answer. Do you want to lose your job?
Well,
let me
wait,
ask
listen.
I
I don't think you say
How
that.
do you get people to stop using that word? How do you,
But here's the thing. Like Tallahassee coach actually did an amazing job of talking about, you know, the right to use, the right not to use. I don't know if you guys actually saw the video, but I found it to be perfect. He said that, you know, there's a lot of people that can say it and then you white people who get upset because they can't say it. And he actually put the challenge out there. Why do you feel like why do you need to say it? Why is it important for you to have balance on that sheet? And basically, you know, why do you feel like you have to have that privilege? It's a word that is used and is uncomfortable for a lot of people, myself included.
Very ugly.
But for the people that do choose to use it in their personal context, I'm not going to take it from you. Like, I'm not going to walk up to you and be like, oh, you bad. I'm not going to do that because that's just not how I see my life, and I don't experience people like that, and I think it's rude and inappropriate. I'm not going to call somebody, I'm not going to do it. And when you actually pull that type of conversation around me, I'm going to remind you that that's not something that don't do it around me.
Because it's very tough.
But it's about like
that's the point. We need to educate and stop people.
But you educate people on what you are comfortable or not comfortable with, that's like me saying that people are not always, they're always going to do and say things that we are not comfortable with.
Does that become that borderline, the First Amendment, my right to freedom of
You
speech?
have
Yes.
the right to
I
say
can
does.
say whatever it
Yes,
was,
it
but
does.
isn't there like a borderline when it becomes,
No, the thing is,
you know,
it's
offensive?
more so like a choice. Like you have the right to say it, but in the same token, you have the right to accept the consequences that come with it.
Absolutely.
My thing is,
Absolutely.
when is it, I mean, it's never right to say that word, but my question is, why?
Right,
Why?
right.
Why do you have to say the N word? I mean, going back years before.
Hold that up. Philly Hott, you on the air? Philly Hott, talk to me.
This box is doing
Something's
anything.
wrong with
Okay.
it. Something's wrong with it.
You're
Right.
wrong.
Yeah, I think all the calls Karan could have had.
Yeah,
Right.
all of them.
Yeah, I
But now we got on that one. Let me ask you this one, because I want to go off of that one for a minute. Because we talked about the children and we
Right.
talked about school.
Right.
But we haven't talked about school bullying. It's
Right.
the difference between being bullied and bullying. I toggled the fence as a child as both. I was a bully. I did what was done to me.
Right.
But then at one point, I had it done to me. I never associated you to that. Hey, you know what? I didn't like that,
Right.
but I still did it.
We gotta call it.
Yeah, so,
No.
after this, we're gonna come back on a commercial break.
Hopefully they
Philly Hott, you on the air?
Hey, I was just listening to you guys again, and you were talking about race, and I was thinking about one of the things that has changed is now white mothers with black children. My niece is a white mother, and she now has to advocate for her young son because, and it's different because she's never had to do something like that before.
Good question. What is your name and where you calling from?
Oh, this is Agnes again. I'm from the Upper Darby Sentinel.
Okay, thank you for calling back.
Hold on, I'm a Darby Sentinel.
The Sentinel.
As the
As the actual newspaper.
yeah, I was about to say the actual newspaper, right?
Well, Miss Agnes, come on out on the 28th, Church of the Advocate.
You might as well come on over here, Miss Agnes, be right here in
Listen,
the neighborhood.
matter of fact, since you on the radio, why don't you give us a plug? Tell us what's the name of your website that the Sentinel is on for all the listeners.
It's at Upper Darby SentinelNews.com, where, just a small local community paper right now. But it's going to get bigger. But when you talk about race, I was wondering about that. If you think that makes any difference now.
Okay, well, we got Gigi here.
Interracial families and everything. I think I've seen older people change their minds about race because their families aren't so white anymore.
It's all part of the Sentinel saying that?
Listen, right, you get a clap for that.
It's getting hot in here.
It is getting hot in here.
So we said we have, what is it, the Sentinel newspaper?
Yes.
Yeah, really hot. So, yeah, it's really hot.
That's awesome.
That's
So
a
that's
media,
awesome.
it's a media crossover event.
So I actually have my children are biracial as well. And so the challenge I think is more about like you have this question about, okay, well, like how do white families feel when they realize that they're a little less white? And it's real,
Right.
and even the way that they engage your children at times, you have to there's a lot of conversations that probably should have been had between your partner, and you really need to know the family that you're going to be, living with the rest of your life, because, there are comments that are said like, oh, well, my grandkids happen to be black, or, we happened, you have, they try to validate the whole black situation, but then even when it comes to dealing with the way that your children look or act, we don't raise our children the same way, and so there are some huge challenges with that because, and I'm actually stereotyping because I feel like sometimes white families can be a bit more loose with the way that they allow their children to do certain things. And then, like with my kid's father, he let the kids call the adults by their first name, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? What just happened? So
I think we got a call.
We already on the call.
So, there's going to be that challenge of having to make sure that your children can navigate that, but also it's a really great learning opportunity for the other side of the family as well. Overall.
Well, that's it. Do you remember that commercial about the talk? where,
Yes.
the mothers having to talk to their children about coming home safe at night.
She's very
That's
informed.
my niece, who is married to a gentleman who's from Jamaica, now understands that. Never could have understood it before, but now understands.
Right.
And I think with compassion and life changing like that, maybe we'll be able to solve some of these problems. Hopefully, I don't know if we will or not, but hopefully we will.
We're gonna engage Agnes one person, we're gonna engage him, educate him, and empower him one person at a time here in the village.
Yes, thank you, for calling in.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Yes,
Agnes.
so I'm going to throw this out there. I want to ask about, because I went on about bullying, being bullied and bullying, your thoughts on this. I'm going to take this call and we're going to do a commercial break. Philly Hott, you on the air?
Oh, the
All
entire
Right.
The tidal wave.
commercial
Yeah,
break.
so we get ready to
Take a
take
commercial
calls for
break.
calls and we be right back.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, you ladies are fantastic. Like man, listen, this is going so well, guys, that I don't even realize what time it is.
I think we should do a weekly. I think we should do a weekly.
Well, well,
It's
the
like
thing is-
5
Time every week.
Well, the thing is, since we all here online, we still having a discussion. And how
We're
we
here
feel about
discussing to whenever
Right, my daughter is also a biracial child. Her mother is African American, and the problem is the Upper Darby school system they a little bit different in how they treat those kind of situations. So my daughter, I moved her to Ridley Township.
Oh wow.
So you go to school out there. Okay, my daughter, like I said, her mother's African American, but at the same token, she is extremely like me. So the biggest problem that she has is so systemic from my childhood bullying, and it's even systemic with her mother. You know, because you asking Paul.
Philly Hott, you on it?
Okay.
I'll call that father.
So the thing is, with her situation is, it becomes systemic on the racism. Like I can sit here and I shouldn't even be able to speak about this, but the way I'm about to speak is like this. My daughter's mother. She's more like, something goes on with my daughter, she'll contact me to address the situation. Because me and my daughter look alike, but she doesn't look that much like her mother.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, not at all.
No, I mean, the fact that she has to do that.
Yeah, the fact that she has to do that because she feels as though that like I don't know personally about what's going on internally.
That's internal,
Yeah, about that. But it's like if
My
she
kids don't even look like you.
yeah, because like if she go to the school to pick my daughter up, they're like, who you here with? Right?
Wow.
And I mean these are
How old is she?
the mother or the daughter?
Your
My daughter is 10. My daughter is 10, but the thing is, the reason why I bring it up is because it's how she's being perceived to people who are like her, the Caucasian people who are like her. And they see her like, well, okay, who you are, mom, for real? And I've heard them say that.
Oh, I get that all the time.
Yeah. And then as soon as I go to school, I get buzzed in.
Right.
They automatically know who kids hate. But here's my child. My daughter's 10 years old. She's in a school where they teach people in Delaware County, teach children in Delaware County to say this, the key word, friend. They don't talk about race. They don't train them. They don't teach them or train them in school about race. They teach them to use the universal word as friend. So it's like when the kids want to go play with somebody, they come and say, "Hi, friend, can I come play with you?"
Yeah.
And the kids have the option to say, "Yeah, I want to play with you," or "Yeah, I don't." But my daughter, being the only person in this school, you know, that here's the thing: she's too light to be black, but too dark to be white. You know, so the thing is, she has to sometimes. The problem I have with this, she feels like she has to do more to get friendship, to earn friendship. You know, then it's like when kids tell her that I don't want to play with you or I want to be friends with you. That bothers my daughter to a degree where it seems like bullying, but I don't want to get to that point where my daughter feels as though she needs to take that ultimate step, like we've seen plenty of kids do before, where they take their lives. And I don't want my daughter to think friendships are so important that's more important to live up to standards that she's never going to meet.
Right.
You know. So Joyce, that's the question I want to know from you because I'm like, I know you deal with children. You've seen them in different aspects. Whether they have both parents and like no parents and like something big. What can we do? Like, what can I tell my daughter so where that she doesn't have to look at race and see all these differences with people?
I think it's about people being. Go ahead.
Philly Hott, you on the air?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. How you doing?
Good, yourself?
Good. Who am I speaking with? What's your question?
My name's Vincent Niblick. I was just listening to the topic about races.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually know this guy. Hey, Vinny, what's going on?
Yes. What's your question?
Hey, James, how are you doing?
You bet.
Yes, what is the pretty much the reason of this topic, if you don't mind me asking?
We're just touching on various topics that matter to us, that matters within the community, and racism just happened to be one of them.
Okay.
Well, in the March for Our Lives.
Yeah,
I mean,
March
this
for Our
is-
Lives,
This
we-
is precipitated by the gun violence in the
Yes.
schools.
We have the March for Our Lives organization that's here right now.
Yeah.
And they started a movement on basically how to literally be marching for anything youth related, community related, and people related.
Yeah.
So right now,
Yeah.
we want to ask you if you got any questions for anybody at the panel here. We got them here, we got James here, we got myself here. So you got any questions? Feel free to ask us. We're here.
Pretty much, I believe that's a big topic right now,
Yeah.
where this world is right now. Pretty much everything you hear lately is pretty much nothing but, black on white, Hispanic on this, it's pretty much a racist topic.
Right.
So let me ask you this, how do you feel about racism?
To be honest with you, I'm Native American and Irish. I come from a mixed family where I have black, Spanish, Native American, Chinese,
Okay.
so forth and so forth. The list goes on. I was never brought up, racist. I was always brought up proper. To this day, I believe it's a topic that is a big discussion that should be talked, not only consistent, but at least, for the future's sake, for these young kids. Because pretty much, sometimes their mindsets are pretty much not even developed or even have the understanding of certain words, where sometimes they blow off their handle, and it does sometimes cost their lives, or, it could be critical where, once again, they'll lash you out. It's definitely a topic that should be addressed.
Hey Vin, it's I want to ask you something. You live in the Northeast, and I know in the Northeast part of the city that's a huge diversity. I know Boston Avenue from Fox Chase, and all around like Warnerhurst there's a big racial difference up there. I know Northeast High School had some problems with that. What do you feel in your area that strongs the heart of racism?
To be honest with you, my whole entire life I came from nothing but a mixed background through my neighbors and my family. That's where they are now, pretty much just coming from that culture. Never had an issue. Once again, I was never, brought up as disrespectful or a very racial person. It was always, respect the turn, or pretty much just, respect the elders, and
Hey Vin, thank you very much for coming on the air. I actually appreciate it. So look man, all those topics are great, and have a good week, man. Be safe.
Just stay tuned, because we still on phillyhotradio.com. Appreciate your call, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Alright, so we just got wind that, the owner of the scoop is on her way.
Oh, nice.
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 Meet her and
Nice.
her again, but apparently,
I thought it was ice cream.
Come to Christmas.
Ridiculously, right? Like it's trending like I know me and her and we trending.
Oh, we still on the air.
I don't even know how to do this. Can someone show me?
Are we still on the air, by the way?
Yeah,
Trending.
wait a minute.
We're on the
No,
last.
actually, I need to come back on.
Some callers.
No, let me come back on. I need to come on.
I do.
Are we on break?
I do appreciate Agnes's question though, because the one thing, well, there's two things.
Wait, James just told me I have great skin. Thank you,
James.
James.
What?
Mike's
You
on.
do.
I
Yes. See, you have great skin.
That's what happened.
What Mike's Hott?
Philly Hot Radio.
Philly Hot Radio, how you doing? Come out, ask us some questions, call the number.
444-477-6348. We are live.
Anything you
Check
wanna
us out,
ask?
phillyhot.radio.com.
My name is
Hey everybody,
Exactly.
Jersey Joyce here.
So
About
we
to
are
nursing
doing-
farm in Philly, and we're going with
doing-
Hot Philly.
We are
There you go.
asking a series of questions, and I left with bullying. I left with what is your thoughts on these children being
Oh.
bullied and bullying. And if y'all remember Rosalie Griller, I'm trying to pronounce her last name. The young girl, 13, she was found hung in her closet. She was bullied so much the students were mocking her, making fun of her because she had braces on. Her parents' mother said that she tried for the longest, to get her to understand, hey, this is temporary. They're coming out in a few, I think it was like 2 weeks, and couldn't take it. She eventually went in the closet. Thank God she kept a little lock, and she went in the closet and she hung herself. I got to reach out to the father and everything. It's kind of touchy. We came as close to New York to Good Morning America, and I didn't hear anything from him. But I wanted to find out more about, her. That's like a touchy. Like I said, I did both growing up. I bullied, and I was a bully, and I think I did more bullying than anything. Not that I want to toot my own horn and think there's anything cute about it, because it's not. When I did it as a child, there was no, to my knowledge, any child taking it to the point where actually sticks and stones, break your bones, names actually hurt. It wasn't to the point where we wanted to go and kill ourselves. Now it's become a little bit to where I've heard some people go on social media and say these children are just not sensitive. They need to grow tough skin. I've actually read that, and I'm like, whoa, how do you tell a child that you need to grow tough skin? Like, who does that when you're being bullied? No one likes that. So the new thing now is, I need to, if you're not going to stop, I need to take my life. And I need these children, and for any child that is going through it, I don't need you to look at yourself in a way to say, I am ugly, I'm not attractive, whatever it is that they are teasing you or mocking you on. I need you to just, what I always tell people is to stay focused. I need you to look at yourself in a different light, because you are beautiful. Contrary to what anyone says, you are beautiful. I don't care what anyone says, and pretty much 9 times out of 10, if they are doing it, it's out of jealousy.
Yeah.
They don't know how to redirect their hate, their anger, their animosity towards, so they direct it to someone who's considered the weak link. You just happen to be the one that's not going to stand up, who's not going to speak up and speak out, but you are attractive and you are pretty. And I mean, you need to, my mother used to always tell me, if you can't talk to me, talk to somebody. If you can't go to your mom, your parent, if you can't go to grandma, if you don't have a sibling, go to somebody. If no one listens, go to find someone, because there is someone. I mean, we have social media, and it's a shame that we have social media to the point where people on social media are putting them down, but I need you to find someone, because I'm here to tell you, you are attractive. You are pretty, and you are worth living for, and I need you to live. Please, you gotta call Philly Hot Radio for me to tell you that you are. Call me, 444-477-6347. Hit me up, Philly.
6348.
6348, PhillyHotRadio.com.
And amen to that.
PhillyHotRadio.com. God, Philly Hot Radio, you on air.
Hi, I have a question for Mr. Banks.
Yeah, what else is new?
Mr. Banks! Big Banks in the building!
But can I go ahead and ask the question?
Yes.
First of all, who am I speaking to?
My name is Amina Sophia Johnson.
Gotcha.
Thanks for calling, Ms. Johnson.
I'm curious as to, do you have anything in the works for, pertaining to, re-entry programs or job training for, incarcerated, or people who were formerly incarcerated?
I do have some answers for that, but the person that's sitting right next to me has a more clear version of that. His name is James Doherty, and he would love to answer that question for you, James.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. So, that is an interesting question. I think, I know the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office has options for people who have been incarcerated and have no job skills. I know if you contact them, there are ways. I had some friends that have been locked up and have no skills, and now are out and struggling. But there are ways. There's trade schools that are in the city that will help you. Some excellent ones. One of my ones is New Orleans Technical Institute.
Is that even if they have little to no job skills at all? Do they have to have a GED, or can they get some training?
No, they will actually. If you go to New Orleans Technical Institute, they're located in the Northeast. They will help you with whatever you want to do. It's a school.
Listen, the other thing I want to ask you is this: have you ever tried OIC in Philadelphia off of Broad and Girard?
No, I've heard of it, but I'm just inquiring for some folks that want to know.
Well,
I'll write that down. You said OIC.
OIC. It's on Broad and Girard. It's a,
Okay, thank you so much.
it's a trade school. I have another one in Delaware County that I think would be very beneficial to you. It's called the Williams Institution.
I'm sorry, what is it?
The Williams Institution is a trade school out in Media, PA.
Okay.
Let me say it slower for you. Basically what that is.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Thank you so much. I'm getting another call and I have to
Okay.
take it, but I thank you so very much.
Thank you for
All right.
calling in.
Appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah, it's getting hot in here.
Philly Hot Radio.
I'm keeping Philly Joyce.
You keeping Philly Joyce?
I actually went
All I hear is
I
We're going Philly Joyce.
Yeah.
I did have a question. I was discussing with a friend of mine who just emailed me something about other bullying, and that's a huge topic with me. I was I've been bullied, sometimes, when I was in high school, and people sometimes made fun of me. But I mean, look, one of the brightest minds I actually had a conversation before he was vice president of the United States, Mr. Biden. Joe Biden, at a union hall, and he told me, I went up to him and I was nervous, I was stuttering, really bad, and he said, look, listen, I had a speech impediment. Joe Biden had said this to me, and people made fun of me my whole life. So when I got home, when I was younger, I stared in the mirror, and I had said a sentence over and over again, and honestly got it, and now look where I am now. I was the vice president of the United States. And I said to him, well, thank you, Senator Biden. And that relates to me. I've had, I was bullied with special needs. But anyone who's been bullied in their life, it's hard. They start thinking, I got no friends, I'm bullied. You don't have to be ashamed of whatever you have. Whether you have a disorder, whether you have a speech impediment, whether you're ADHD, whether you're, have anything wrong with you, you can do anything that puts your mind to it, and don't let anyone fall under that. Don't let no one say that, stick a hand in your face and say, listen, you're not good because you're bullied, or you're different because your parents are a different color, or you got a mom and a mom, or a dad and dad. It doesn't matter. No one should be bullied at all, and if they say, well, you won't fit in, go find some other friends. Don't be with people who are going to bring you down in life, because that's not the way it should be.
And you know what? The bullying, we always associate bullying to children. There's some I don't call them adults. I call them tall folks. Because adults don't do some of the things that children do. But there are some tall folks that bully and then they intimidate children. So that just makes it worse. You're adding fuel to the fire,
Yes.
and it's bad enough that you have a child that already has insecurities.
Right.
You know what, my friend across the street wears these nice designer clothes and has this nice house. And here we're going to Goodwill and these little thrift stores buying clothes. Truth be told, that's the end thing now. Like before, when I grew up, we had a pair of old pants on, you got laughed at. Now we can't wait to buy $50, $60, $70 for a pair of pants that's red. That's the end thing, mismatched socks. You got the thing all, you got the game all wrong. Like seriously, you literally have the game all wrong. Especially with the bullying and you adults, it irritates me to know that I'm literally watching other adults, allegedly adults, enticing these children, encouraging these children, promoting, and giving, incentive. It's like a game, and it's not a game because these children that are being tortured, truth be told, if they don't get some mental help, they grow up and they act out in a different way. These are your typical serial killers that at first I didn't get the help I needed and I wasn't nurtured. And here's the thing, I came to mom and dad and they didn't believe me or however, they didn't know how to help, the school didn't back me. And then they burst out. But moving forward, I gotta get on this topic. And my favorite is this police brutality that's been going on. And I have a few friends, in different ranks of the police force, and I asked them, when you see this, doesn't it? But of course, there's a code that goes to it. Of course, I can't drop my badge, I can't drop my gun.
I got this.
And I wondered at some point, when do you say enough? Because we can march and rally all day long. But if you're standing against someone you know daggone well is one of those people that shouldn't be carrying a badge and a gun, how can you not, or just, I mean.
Well, I actually read an article a couple years ago, and it was about a police officer in New York who blew the whistle on some extremely racist behaviors and activities that were happening in his precinct. And his captain actually told him that, well, you haven't met your quota for arresting folks. And he's like, well, I'm good. Like, my neighborhood is good, it's solid. And his boss basically was like, yeah, well, you need to be arresting more. I know there's plenty of them out there,
Right.
speaking specifically to our community. And he got fired for not meeting that quota, for not arresting people who did not deserve to be in jail. And that was kind of crazy. More recently, I was in a Lyft, and the driver was like, "Oh, so we're basically we're at war with Syria now." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's really unfortunate." And then we got into a bunch of different conversations we likely should not have gotten into. But at the end of the day, he starts telling me that I'm wrong to believe that the things that our police officers do are actually happening. And I was like, dude, are you calling me crazy? Like, this is my story. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I said, well, why don't you take a moment and pay attention? Like, the young man that committed suicide after he was released from jail, he was never convicted. Oh, that's impossible. That doesn't happen in the United States of America. There's a lot of people who believe that things just can't happen here. They happen here all the time. And they're willing to go on record and say that you are wrong because you don't have all the information. What frustrates me to no end is that people who are not black and who are not people of color constantly, don't die, Joyce, don't die. We are constantly, as black people, challenged with giving more information, for giving better, if we don't walk around with a camera on our chain and audio tape that's happening all the time, it wouldn't help. No, it wouldn't help. And that's a frustration by itself.
Remember we started this conversation.
We did.
Early before you came. It was like, there's some topics that's going to be itchy and scratchy to touch on.
Scratch on it.
This will be one of those topics.
I don't have a problem.
But that's what we need to talk about,
But you
because
have to
they
have
are
these
sticky and
conversations.
because they are hard to talk about.
Alright, the reason why I'm saying it is the only thing that I think I can speak on related to that topic is exactly what the blue wall of code of conduct is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, Joyce, you know what that is. The blue golden wall of conduct.
It's the one that was talked about by somebody in a very high office in our government that said that it's okay if you should smack someone's head.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that you said that, because
Trump said that.
that's why I'm referring the question to you, so I would have to say it.
I actually, I'm gonna jump in on this for a minute. Someone actually said another comment, and I was at that thing when he said it. It's actually our district attorney. It's okay. Don't shoot him in the leg. Shoot him in the leg, not the arm. Now this is a district attorney who went to the ceremony of a cadet who graduated now and already got to say you can shoot him in the leg. Don't shoot him in the arm.
But why is shooting the first thing? Okay, so
Okay,
here's the
so
thing.
you
So my frustration, I'll be honest with you.
I want to hear that question, but I'm listening to you.
Okay, so my first.
Mine's not a question, it's gonna be an answer.
Okay,
Being with the police
so
department,
here's the
having
thing.
experience,
We
I'd like
have-
to answer that.
I have friends who are Navy SEALs. I have friends who are at all levels of armed forces, and also police people. Like, I have police officers in my family. So I'm not saying this because, like, I have no perspective.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that when there is a code of conduct for somebody who is in the armed forces, and when they are in wartime and in battle times, they have still got a code of conduct about how they engage people with their guns and with bodily with deadly force.
Mm-hmm.
They would get in trouble. They would be court-martialed. They would be out on their behind for most of the infractions that happen that our police officers do. And I do not believe that it's impossible to train our police officers who spend more time with their community, not less, to be able to be aware of, like, how do you need to engage your community? How do you de-escalate a situation? How do you determine when something requires deadly force, and how often do you apply that deadly force? It just shouldn't be happening as often as it does, because you want somebody to stop, you shoot them. When you have a taser, when you have more than one police officer. I watched 2 police officers take down one individual who was not being violent. They just decided that she needed to be on her face, on the ground, and they were punching her and kicking her in her stomach. And all of right, right. Why is it that you needed to dehumanize her and put her down there like that, instead of both of you are you're both people who are capable of handling her individually?
So for those who don't know, what happened was there was two white police officers that decided they were to handcuff the black young lady, and she wasn't willing to be handcuffed. Right. So one of the police officers had her, and the other one decided he had one arm while he kneed her, and he literally was kneeing her in her side to when she fell. So when she fell, her shirt went up. It was hard to see if she was actually pregnant, but it looked like it. But she didn't say anything, but they actually got her on the ground to the point where the one that kneed her got on the ground. He profusely kept kneeing her. Then he decided when he wanted to pull out his taser, and he just. And I'm like, wow, I literally started crying because he left it there. She's on the ground. I've never been tased, but I watched him. When you're being tased, you're shaking. How am I going to put my arms back when I'm shaking? I'm like moving. But it got to the point where it was like, that someone is going to look at that and say that wasn't excessive force. I know somebody still has their job come tomorrow, but I want to know, what are your thoughts on police brutality?
Well, yeah, Joyce, I want to know that.
Go ahead, Philly Joyce.
I really want to know that.
It was hot.
Yeah.
It's hot.
I want to know that.
Well, that's kind of warm.
So having worked for a police department, first of all, there is 2 sides to every story.
Yes.
And I think the stories that we're seeing and the things that are happening is a shame, because you want to know what, folks? Everybody sitting here and listening, the one thing you don't realize is, where did the word cop come from? Do you know?
No.
It was civilian on patrol.
Mm-hmm.
It was community on patrol. So we're all cops. We are all responsible for raising our kids. We're all responsible. When I grew up, I didn't have a choice whether it was a cop, and it didn't matter if you were black, if you were white, none of that mattered. My father told me to address everybody as Miss, or as Mr., or as Sir, as a ma'am. We've lost all respect. Now on the police side of it, and I'm not saying it's right, I am not justifying any violence in any which way that it's excessive force, because it's just wrong. But what I'm saying is, these young men and women are coming out of the academies being trained, and they're at a heightened sense of awareness, and they're already thinking that when they get into their car, somebody's looking to kill them and they don't know if they're coming home. Right. But if we're going to talk about the violence that way, let's talk about it also. You would ask the question, Mr. Banks, about in the schools, right, and the children, and the violence. It all comes back, it's systemic. It comes back to the same thing. If we don't change, there's got to be a paradigm shift. There's got to be a paradigm shift, because right now we're going back into where we're thinking it's acceptable to be violent. We're thinking it's acceptable to use the N-word. Okay, I'm a lesbian. Shock, I know. So I don't like the. But I don't like the word queer. It doesn't mean. So yeah, James, it's not happening, man. I'm telling you. So anyway, but the point that I'm making is that when someone calls me a queer, I can either say and accept it, I can think that they're ignorant, or I can educate them.
Right.
And I choose to educate them. Listen, I'm a lesbian. I don't prefer the word queer. Right. And if that's what you like, so if we don't take the time, gun violence, any kind of violence, it doesn't matter. It's not okay. This is about respecting one another. It's about your heart, your soul, who you are. When people say they don't see in color, it's bullshit. Everybody sees in color. I'm sorry.
Yes.
FAA, we didn't mean it. FCC, we didn't mean it.
We got a 20-second delay.
But that's good too. But the point is that it's not true, because people are who they are. Like I was saying, my dad, honestly, to my brothers and sisters, he was Archie Bunker. Right. And I'll never forget when somebody came and knocked at the door, and he was 6-foot football player. We were going to a concert, and my father, honest to God, and I hate to even say this, I can't believe I am. I haven't thought about it in 40 years. Right. But he said, Joyce, there's an N-word at the door for you.
Wow.
And I was upstairs. Now, this floored me, because I didn't expect it, but you don't think my friend could hear you? And I made it a point to come downstairs, invite Danny in, ask him if he wanted something to drink, and sit close enough where my father about had a heart attack. Okay? But the point that I'm making is that when we came to the racial part of it later on, and his mentality changed.
Right.
Because Danny was then okay, my friends were then okay. It wasn't that if you were, I mean, they're raised the way that they were raised. We as citizens on patrol, we ourselves as cops, need to turn around and change the conversation. Does it mean that if you and I, Sarita, were walking down the street, honest to God, and a cop came up and questioned one of us, I wouldn't be the first one questioned, and I know that.
Yeah, you're right.
But I could be the biggest HUD, biggest thud, or whatever. To your point, it's based on how you're dressed, how you're acting. Now, if I was a woman that was lying on the street, like I was homeless, and asked for $1, people would walk over me as well.
Right.
It's the perception of what you have and the way that we're raised. And I think that's why I say we need to engage, educate, and empower people.
Well, see, Joyce, listen, right? The thing is, in my area in Delaware County, what we try to do is to cut down on racial tension. We have community policing. We have training, we have so forth for certain people. But then in the same token, we have a psychological aspect that we add to our police officers in Delaware County. Meaning, like, we have a community day with the police officers in Delaware County. They bring out a movie theater, they serve ice cream, they bring out the fire trucks, and they bring out the SWAT van.
They got to get out of their cars, though, because look.
But see, that's one day. See, that's the thing. That's one day.
That's what I was going to say. Is that you can't just do it once. You need to park your car every single day and walk the community. Let them see you.
And the same token is this is now. Say our kids get out of school at 3 o'clock. And the truth of the matter is, I've driven home in my area, and I see teenage boys sitting on the side of the curb as if they did real crimes. They come home from school, you know, and our officers is like, you know, we want to teach them a lesson to keep from that crime. They even have it set up to where.
But
what crime? Sitting on a stoop?
There's no crime.
There's really no crime.
Sitting on a
There's
stoop.
no crime. So basically, these kids are being taught that they are always going to be targeted as a potential or terminated.
Yeah.
You know.
No matter what.
But the thing is, you like to believe it. See, the thing is, that's why I say this is a touchy topic for somebody like me to speak on, because I actually train police officers. I train police officers how to deal with the community. I actually train them physically how to defend themselves in situations that they don't have to pull their gun. We used to have a place in our area off of Westchester Pike called Upper Darby Kickboxing. I trained police officers and firefighters there for 10 years there. You know, and sadly enough, I don't look like the kind of person that would do that, but I am. You know, and the thing is, training them just to deal with stuff physically, so they have to use their firearm. You have to deal with them psychologically as well.
But it should be the last resort, and it's not, because they're being trained in the community to have a heightened sense of awareness when you're out there, that you don't know when you're coming home. Their first reaction is to go for the gun, and that's what we need to change. We need to have the conversation, not the action.
But see, the thing
But
is,
it seems like they're going more for their guns.
Because the
Right, but what are
training-
they doing with the Parkland?
Yes.
What is the first thing that they were saying is that they want to give guns to teachers, which is the most asinine thing I ever
And there are a
heard.
few
You don't
teachers
bring
that-
more guns into a school where you've got the problem. And the other thing is they're saying to take away the training.
Right.
So Committeeman Banks, if we're going to be taking away the training, to me this is now more than ever when we need to have training.
I think we need, I agree with you totally. I believe that we do need the training. The training is to keep our officers to use more common sense than use violence. Like, I believe in this. I believe that if you don't have a firearm, there is no reason for me to pull my gun out on you. Okay? And the second thing is, if I'm not in any kind of mortal danger or anyone around me, there's no need for me to sit here and have this discussion where I have to think about, am I going to shoot this individual?
Right,
You
but
know?
did you see the article about
Yes.
police officers in Baltimore
Yes.
who walked around and had toy guns in their
Yes.
car
Yes.
so that they could
Yes.
validate the reason
Yes,
why they were shooting?
because the thing is, I can explain how that can happen. The problem is that
Throwaways are old.
yeah, I mean the thing is, police officers. I mean that's right. It's been around since the 80s.
It's been really.
But the thing I'm trying to tell you about it is this, right? As a police officer, right, you are trained to do a job, and at the end of the day, that job can cost you your life. The most important thing to any police officer will tell you this. The most important thing to a police officer is
Coming home.
you said right,
That's all there is to it.
it's come home, and I think if I gotta be put in a situation to where I'm not gonna come home and deal with my kids, I'm not gonna sit here with my wife. That's a split decision where sometimes common sense comes out the way. Guess what? We respond faster when we think about the situation. It's only when after the situation is bad. Tell me, Joyce, after the situation is bad, we're like, did I do everything I could to avoid that situation? That's the thing that people don't speak about when they talk about police officers. Okay,
Can I just ask this?
Sure.
Because I noticed that when they pair police officers, they pair
Yeah.
colors. So color to color, white
Right.
to white, Hispanic to Hispanic, black to black. I've always figured if you separated the two and put them going out there,
Right.
then wouldn't that's just me, it would cut down on me worrying about the white man wanting to beat up on a black person because you're sitting, it's less likely you're gonna call him a nigger if you're sitting next to me, because now I gotta look at you sideways. It's less likely that you're gonna call that person Hispanic if you're sitting with one going into that neighborhood. That was just me.
Yeah, but they don't train officers.
It's about safety,
It's
It's
about
safety and numbers,
Like-
and I don't know that they care, I
Like-
mean, I'd like to think
I've
that's not
noticed that
happening.
if you
Like here's the thing, if me and her was just graduated from the academy and they tell me that she's gonna be my partner, right? At that instant moment when she becomes my partner, right? She is no longer a woman. She is no longer nothing. I'm no
On this
longer.
back row, I mean,
Exactly.
Her job is to make sure that I go home safe, and my job is to make sure she go home safe. At the end of the day, if anything comes between that arrangement for my partner being able to go home, I'm gonna stop that. And she's gonna do the same thing. I mean, the sad part about it, every police officer is like that. My partner make a mistake, I gotta sit here and reevaluate how I'm gonna make this situation to where it's gonna affect both of us. If she accidentally shoots someone, it affects both of us. They're gonna
But I
actually.
do think that they use race to diffuse the situation.
Of course.
They do, because if you and I both walked up on a scene together, and if it was someone white, or whatever, or a lesbian, I don't know, a woman, you might send me in to diffuse the situation.
It's public relations.
And it is about public relations, and it's about engaging the conversation, but again, it comes down to engaging the conversation, trying to diffuse the situation.
Because the thing is, some people like say Joyce, like we could go into a situation, right? Where like since James is here, I bring that back. And me and James can go into a situation where he feels strongly about the community, and guess what? He might run across a person that's real ignorant and disrespectful. That happened to us in the bar a couple times, and you know, at election bars, so we don't do stuff unofficially. And then here's the thing: this is what I do to diffuse the situation.
Not off the record.
I pull James to the side and say, James, listen, right? Say that the angry black people or whoever there, and they see James, they want to, be extra. So James is like, let's all be friends here. I'm buying you a beer, and they still want to keep the stuff going on. So this is what I do. James, listen, right? Hey, let me go talk to them. I speak their language.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I get real aggressive and mean towards them because some of that stuff is
Well, I'm gonna actually ask you a question because I know this is deep, and I was actually in the middle of calls, family calls, but I know I respect the blue. I mean, it's on my phone. I respect it. I respect the uniform. My thing is this stop and frisk. You know, I know I'm bringing this up. So, I mean, listen, if I'm an average guy, I'm walking around pacing back and forth a place, waiting for someone, I'm pacing back and forth. And, and I had to stop me. A few years back, I had been probably like 13, maybe 14, one on Christmas. I was leaving then, at the moment, it was Franklin Mills Mall. Back then it was. And I had bags in my hand. And I'm walking by, used to be Dave & Buster's. It's Dave & Buster's now. It used to be something else before, I forget the name. And there's an unmarked, I get up to Knights Road, my bag ripped, and there's a vehicle that's open. So automatically, I'm walking by the car, I stop the time of shoot and pick my bag up ripped. And I was bombarded with undercover cops. They held me for an hour at Franklin Mills.
Right.
And said,
Because they were on stand up for a car problem.
because they said, what were you doing the other guy? I said, my bag ripped, and you can see it ripped. I was literally also tying my shoe.
Listen, you should have said who kept their job after that situation.
So my question is, why is it that law enforcement, even if you're going back and forth, the cops have to do stop and frisk? What do you feel that, if we just see them pacing back and forth while waiting, why is it that the cops feel the necessary to ask you, what are you doing,
Okay, well, one, I'm not a police officer, so I'm not gonna say, but for my opinion, I think stop and frisk is a nice way to say that we can racially profile.
Agreed.
Agree.
I think
Got
that's
that
right.
one.
And one thing I can say for sure that the co-sign off of what you're saying is I don't know when it started, but I know it ain't gonna never stop. So that's a fact.
So we agreed on that.
So can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Sure. Because Karan brought something up that you and Joyce both agreed on, that the thing for the police is their number one priority is to come home.
Right.
My question is, they're trained for that job and they took that job.
Right.
My number one priority for my son, who the world identifies as a black boy, trying to access a world of white privilege that he can't touch because his family is surrounded by it. When he leaves the house, I want his butt to come home.
Right.
And he didn't train for anything
Right.
except for being a kid walking down the street.
Right.
And the likelihood of him coming home feels to me like it gets smaller every day.
Right.
How do we get the people who I understand I would never do it because I'd be too damn scared to be a cop.
Right.
But how do we get the people who are trained in that job and accept the risk even though it terrifies them to handle themselves accordingly so that I don't have to worry about sending my kid out who hasn't trained for jack other than being a 13-year-old walking down
There's
the
the
street.
right answer and then there's the answer. I mean,
That's what I was about to say. That
Yeah, brother.
I love to say that.
Exactly.
See, to me, I mean, it's unfortunate, but you would almost have to say to your son, and actually anybody,
Yeah.
is to the police, it's about being respectful.
Mhm.
And there are times, I'm gonna finish it because I'm not defending it.
Okay.
I'm saying that there's times when their hands have gone up and people have been shot.
Yes.
It's just because the police are at such a heightened sense now that they're thinking it's acceptable to just go ahead and use their gun first versus their mouth. It's not right. So there is the right answer, there's a wrong answer, and there's what's the reality of what's happening.
Right.
The reality of what's happening isn't how we change the conversation. The dialogue is how we change the conversation.
Right.
It's by us continuing on Philly Hott to come on out and give us calls and talk about it. It's getting hot in here. It's about having those conversations and opening up the dialogue.
Right.
And it's about having people of different colors,
But you
different
guys-
ethnic
You
backgrounds
guys
at
have
the
to
table.
listen. You guys have to truly understand. At the end of the day, you're saying training, right? You're saying your son's not trained, but some officers. The problem with that blue wall of conduct is that there is no way for me or you to tell which one of the officers has the training and who doesn't. Who has
And
right?
there's also the
Who's
background
racist,
of
right,
the
what's the
racism,
background?
which is their personal.
All you can do is hope that an officer has a lot more common sense than himself and
Restraint.
restraint. Because here's the reason why they pair them over two is not just to deal with the fact that one's white, one's black, or ethnic stuff is together. It's the fact that she might have an insight on something not there. She might be aware, she might be calmer, a lot more patient. I might be an officer who has a bad day, or officer has said whatever. They pair with two because guess what? Both of us is not going to experience the same thing. You know what I mean? And the most important thing you guys said, to stop the first that James was saying, I think the most important thing is the blue wall to me because if my partner does a certain thing, right, I should be able to sit here and say, yo, you was wrong. You should have thought about that a little more clearly instead of being like, it's not my problem. Or I have to go with the flow.
Go to back my play.
Yeah, I gotta be on the back of the play because and y'all trying to figure out why do officers do that instead of saying the truth? Because at the end of the day, when this situation is over, I still have to be with this person. I still have to drive with them. This person still has to have my back. And because I didn't have their back officially or publicly, whatever, I can't rely on them anymore. And then I'm stuck with them. So in case I get into a jam where, okay,
He's not trying to.
And you got
And
140 other
you got
people that you need to be responsible for.
Then
though.
the other officers are going to give you the same back of their shoulder.
no, the thing is, it's not about them giving it back. The problem is that the police within
They
itself.
won't back you then.
I mean, yeah, because
Yeah.
the police itself is a private organization. Regardless if you want to look at it or not, my job is to serve and protect the community. That's the job description. But at the end of the day, protecting my fellow officers is a whole different thing than that. You understand what I'm saying? You notice how every time somebody accidentally kills a police officer, you know how much effort they put into that to get the person who killed the police officer versus anything else? Because that's a stain on the city here. You know what I mean? But when you're talking about how it affects people on a public level, like, okay, if it's not an officer, you're like, why they don't have the common sense to see those things? Why does somebody move? The first thing they say on the internet, I look at all these internet questions about this topic when my phone is on. You know what they say? Why they won't just listen to the commands? Why they gotta run? Why they gotta do whatever?
Is it the command?
It's
You know, 'cause
not.
I'm looking at the command who are like brushing it off like, okay.
No, the
it's-
commands
it's-
is the commands
it's
stop,
like a-
stand
Stop.
still, come here, put
I
your
think
hands
put
up.
your hands up.
But I saw people
Don't
where
move.
they literally were telling the guy, put your hand behind your back,
Yeah,
and he was
right.
like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like I physically can't because of the way
Right.
you got me trussed
Right.
up. And they had him underneath a car. They had his,
I don't know
like,
if you remember. I don't know if you remember the hotel incident.
Okay.
When the guy, it was at a distance and you couldn't see the police officer, but you did see the man and the lady. The man was on the floor and the lady came out. They made her crawl
Oh yeah, I did
through
see that.
them.
Yeah.
I did
And
see
they
that.
made him perform all kinds of tricks to the point
Right.
where they still
Right.
Shot him.
Right.
Yep.
killed him.
Now what to
Yeah.
do? Now what to do in a situation like this is this: if you are unarmed and you have your hands in the air, the only thing you can do the only thing you can do other than not get shot is immediately go down to the floor with your hands up. Get down to your knees and just lay.
but they shot the guy that did
But they
this.
still
Listen,
shot
I
him.
said that's the only
That's
thing.
the only thing
I
you
said
can.
that's the only thing you can do in that particular situation because any false movement, and that's it. And then here's how the police go. the part that I can't answer is after they accidentally shoot you, what they would do. Okay? I mean, at the end of the day,
Would they even call the ambulance though?
the thing is, I mean, what's,
What would
I mean,
they- is that-
see,
is
that's,
that when
that's,
they-
that's
is
it.
that when
And see,
they
we talking
plant
about,
the
tell
gun?
them we talking about that, we talking about the slippery slope with that.
There we go. It's getting hot in here.
Philly Hot, you on the air?
Hello?
Yes, Philly Hot, speak to me. How you doing?
I'm on over here.
I'm good. What is your name and what's your question?
My name is Mr. Harrison, and I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with my comment first. I'm a former law enforcement officer. You know, I
Thank you for calling, come on.
Yes.
Why didn't
Yeah, give it to us.
Hey, Miguel.
Hey, Miguel.
Hey,
What's
Miguel.
wrong?
hey, what's up? So yeah, I just wanted to speak on that because like I said, I'm a former law enforcement officer, and I have a bunch of friends who were cops in Philly and such, and they're speaking on this issue. My whole thing is that, you know, if you're protesting your right to not be discriminated against, then I am all for, you know, the civil disobedience and saying, oh, not leaving, because you're really protesting your right to not be discriminated against. So I see a bunch of people talking, you know, saying, oh, if they ask you to comply, you know, just comply with the law enforcement officers.
Right.
No, because that is when you're saying comply, that is asking to basically forego your rights, and that's just saying go ahead with the status quo. But like everything's okay. Like,
Right.
there's still, you know, any of that doesn't exist. So when you engage in civil disobedience, that in itself is basically fighting for your rights, you know, and not taking things laying down. Like we have, you know, as African men, I have nieces and nephews, and wherever I can, you know, get in to make a change so it's a better world for them,
Right.
then I'm gonna do so.
Right.
And you know, even if that is being a little civil disobedient, or you know, not leaving the Starbucks, or
I said not leaving the Starbucks. You're right. You're right.
Go.
Awesome. So what's your question?
you know, so my question is that in itself, you know,
Right.
within you know, how will people actually, you know, start to question these things? Will people actually start to stand up, and will this become the norm now? Do you guys think that this should become the norm if we face segregation? You know, should we engage in civil disobedience and stand up for what's right?
Go ahead, James. Answer.
Or should we just leave and not, you know, not engage in like, should we just put our head down and just accept it and leave and try and fight this on another front?
How can we fight the police system? Because I've seen time and time again where, you know, you'll look at video footage. You know, you have the body cam on, and you see where the police officer shoots the young man in the head. You see where he stomps on the person or drags him and kicks them. And you see where there's no weapon, but they'll tell you, I'm in fear of my life, so I put 15, 20 bullets in that person and reload it. You know, it's like, what do you do in a situation like that when they say, hey, put your hands up, I put my hands up, and they still put a bullet in it?
Yeah, so for that, you know, that's a perfect opportunity for our like white allies to stand up for us. And I guess one thing you can do, like an example of incremental progress, would be to, you know, stand up where these microaggressions or these micro instances of racism show up. Like Starbucks, I think the commissioner said that, you know, there could be a change in policy that just happened from that one event in Starbucks. And it wasn't just them engaging in civil disobedience and them standing up for what's right, the young gentlemen that were arrested, but it was also the white allies in the room who made some noise about it, who recorded it. You know, situations like that.
Hello?
I think on my end, because we can't leave up to the police department. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, Mikkel.
Can you guys hear me?
Mikkel.
Okay.
Hey, Mikkel, my name is James Dougherty. I actually want to hop in on this real quick. Isn't it my right that on every police car or every event that I've been to, the heroes of the Phil Show for Philadelphia, which is a great thing, in the Pale Center, I'm an active at the Pale Center. My question is, isn't it on the back of on the side of every police car, honor, serve, and protect? So my thing is, most cops don't show that. Most cops don't show the honor, the serve, and protect in the city and the state, and actually not in the country. I mean, going back to the school shooting where the sheriff stood outside of the school while the shooting was going on and didn't go in the school and just froze. My question is I don't think law enforcement today is so up to that honor, serve, and protect. When there's a school shooting, you're supposed to go into the fire, not stand there and stay out of it. So my question is, why stand and freeze when you spend hours in duty knowing about, this is what's
for this one
be
right
done?
here, we're talking more on not someone inside the school building. We're talking more so to where the police officer are actually shooting us versus
On the streets, I mean,
yeah,
just
yeah,
shooting
yeah.
not so much.
I would say on both sides of that argument. So what you said about the officers not going into the school, the officer should be outgunned, and that's also another conversation for another day.
Right.
We should
Mikhail, you're cutting out.
Breaking up, Mikhail.
Hello?
You're breaking up.
Go park somewhere and call us.
Yeah, call us back.
All's back.
Oh man, that was fantastic.
That was
Yeah,
good.
it was.
Yeah, police officer.
Thank you so much, Mikhail. Yeah,
And yes, I do agree with him. I mean, there's reasons when you're saying why didn't he go in. I'm not saying that he should have taken the position that he did. I'm saying that he should have gone in at some point. There should have been backup. There should have been calls that were made. You need to assess the situation if you're the only person that's there. I mean, one of the things, and the people, and I guess I'm going to ask this question because, and I'll ask my African American friends here. My thing is to how to put a stop to the gun violence. Honestly, is to use dogs. Now, dogs have a certain connotation.
I like dogs, by the way.
But wait a minute, let me say this. I know, sis, but wait, let me say this. No, so you'd rather have me give it to a teacher that had no rights and had a gun.
No.
Here's what I'm saying. May I please?
Of course.
Dogs are trained specifically to deter, to detect, and to detain. You're talking about how to keep guns out of school and how to keep people safe and how to do things in the community. I'm saying that you can safely do it from a distance before the guns get into the school. They can smell munitions. They can smell fear.
So you mean
They
when
can
we coming in?
I'm saying that you have your point of access, yes.
Oh, got you.
And that, because they'll smell guns coming across the
I got you.
field.
I
You'll
got
smell them in their car when they're driving by if they got a
Metal
bomb.
detectors, you got the dogs, I got you.
I'm
all
saying
for
to
that.
use the dogs not as a deterrent against the people or a race or a specific person. I'm saying they are there to protect the people, the property, the school, and to keep guns out of schools where they don't belong. I'm also saying that if I have a guy with a gun that's coming towards the school, and I'm a cop or a trained personnel, doesn't have to be a cop, trained dog handler, to have them and to see somebody with a gun coming, I don't need to leave anywhere. I just need to tell him to go and do what he's got to do, and the dog's going to take care of it. At the end of the day, we need to find a way to stop what's happening. It might not be the best answer, but you know what? It'll help control the pet
So,
population.
sis, right, so I can make a mistake, right? So I can make a mistake and touch a dog and get 10 years in jail.
No,
We
no,
let
he's
the
gonna
dogs
be,
out?
he's gonna be at the entrance point. He's gonna be.
At your
No, not
points of
there.
access, towards the building.
Sorry.
Do you not think that bombs, look, I'm gonna tell you
Stay at
something,
the
you wanna know
airports.
why I'm so concerned and I came out for the March for Our Lives, aside from school safety? It's because every time you advertise a town hall, every time you are advertising when we're having a walkout, every time you're advertising anything else, these idiots that are out here with the AKs that think it's okay, you've now given them targets, you've now put them in a fishbowl.
Because my thing is, listen, I mean, I know people who going 17 years in jail for something that's got to do with a dog. You know what I mean? I know lawmakers that put more.
I ain't talking about betting them and fighting them.
Matter
I'm
of
talking about.
fact, I'm gonna just, I should probably say it, but I guess I'll make a choice. Here's what I'm gonna say. The thing is, I know the saddest part about the situation that we're talking about is that I'm tired of people putting more love and affection into a four-legged animal than a human being.
Okay,
I
let me give
agree.
you guys a trivia fact.
Sure.
The American Society for Cruelty to Animals was created almost 30 years before they created something to stop the abuse of children.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they actually, and it was because it was a young lady, a little girl, like 10 years old, who had been severely abused, and they actually had to use the laws on the books to protect pets. And the SPCA had to come out to talk about supporting her. That is the only way that they actually stopped
but the thing is, the thing is, if you're dealing with a police officer who pulls you over with a canine unit and they need to search your vehicle and they bring out that dog jumps on you. I mean,
That's it.
You like, here's the thing, like, that dog could get hit by ongoing traffic.
Yeah. And he's not letting go.
Accidentally, and he's locking you to you and he's not letting go. That's like resisting arrest. So I'm supposed to stay and let this dog. I see videos. I'm supposed to let this dog do the stuff to me. As soon as you retell it, you getting stunned. Yeah. You know, I mean, trust me. I've not always been in the position I am today, and trust me, I will guarantee you and tell you, I got tased one time in the back of my leg. It was a feeling I never wanted to experience ever again in my life. And that was by an NTA in William Penn High School, based off of bullying. We didn't get a chance to touch base on that because we moved to a different topic. But the same token, that's what happened. And the K9 unit thing caused me to be in a real bad situation in high school. Okay, I used to get bullied a lot in school. The problem with that was I was coming from lunch, had a magazine in my hand, and 4 young men from the Richard Island Projects, they attacked me. I had 2 NTAs sitting there to watch the whole thing. I didn't resist. I didn't do anything. The only problem was, as soon as I started to fight back, I was the one that was in trouble. Because guess what? They wanted to sit here and beat me up because I guess I was light-skinned or whatever the situation may be. The only problem is they forgot to check that the 10 martial art championship trophies in William Penn had my name on them.
I love it.
So to make a long story short, I ended up fighting back, and because I did so, I put 4 kids in the hospital and the 2 NTAs that stayed there and watched the whole situation. And what did I get for defending myself? Police officer came in, K9 unit came in, jumped up on me. I defended myself with the K9 unit. I went to sleep after that. You know why? Because someone tased me. And I was only 16 years old. Someone tased me. I woke up in the police station right next door from my hospital. And you know what they told my mom, my cancer-stricken mother? They told my mother, listen, right, if your son stays in this school based off of the training that he knows how to do, his parents is going to press charges against him and he's going to go to jail.
Excuse me?
That's what they told my mother.
Wow.
Now here's the thing, my mother was a doctor at Temple University when she got diagnosed with cancer, so she knew how to handle that and racial situation. You know what my mom said? She said, I have terminally ill cancer. My son does not speak. This is a way for him to alleviate himself. And then she transferred me to another school.
That's crazy.
So let me go off the air with this one. Because
Are we off yet?
no, I'm a
We appreciate Philly Hop. It's
Well,
on
we
you. You're our
got,
boss.
well, actually, we got the scoop here. So the scoop is
The scoop.
literally in the
I'm
building.
going to stay for the scoop. This is something
Okay.
I want to.
So the scoop is in the building, but I'm going to leave on this one because I want to ask you about Trump and his tweeting and all the stuff that's going on
Listen,
in the White House.
I'm gonna go on this topic, and I want to take a breather after this one because I got a phone call.
Okay, but I'm
Let
gonna throw that out there because I've never heard of any president like Trump tweets more than he blinks. So your thoughts on his tweeting stuff because pretty much he's putting everything out there that shouldn't be put out there.
Right.
There's some things that we shouldn't know about before it even got the chance to wiggle through the channels and somebody say, okay, this is, and he puts it out there beforehand, and then what happens is they gotta retract it and all that other good stuff. But how do you feel about a president that takes to social media as much as he does? And we're gonna take a pause for pause, and we're gonna come back on that one, and then when we do, we should have the scoop, the owner of the scoop up in here, newspaper, and because you know we already had the CEO up in here, but so I'm gonna leave y'all with that when you think about it.
Cool. Thank you.
So
Okay.
listen, I want to say it for you. I'm talking about the
Thank you so much.
It's the Delaware County.
No problem.
Agnes Brothers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's my newspaper.
We will talk.
You're heading out.
Yeah, I'm not heading out. No, I'm staying.
Okay. Well, this is just me on the break. Let's get crazy with it.
Thank you so much.
I said over here talking so come on again.
Thank you so much.
No, you gotta get up.
And let's
It's fine. And I'm serious, Miss Sonny. We're gonna come back. I think we should come and do this. I would love to do this with you again. I would love to do this with you again. You have me?
Is it?
It's
How you
crazy
doing?
good.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
doing
Sorry.
So nice to meet you, Sergeant.
Listen, I'll take this
Bring your
picture.
paper.
I don't think she won all of these, but I'm here to open the pay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
We know you just came in. We would love it if you would do us a nice favor. Because we be sitting here publicizing everything that's going on today. We can take pictures like crazy.
And we're trying to stick around.
We don't have a
I'm
we don't have a
sorry.
photo of our person that was interviewing us all day.
Yeah, we need to get,
So they gonna get you in there?
Listen, because
it's getting hot in here.
I know.
Hi, how are you?
Look at you.
It's getting hot in here.
Keep my clothes on.
We organize our own medias and stuff like that. In these situations.
I'm 50. It's 50 here. You don't need all of those.
Wait, no.
Are you gonna come join us on Saturday, the 28th?
Where, what am I doing?
March for Our Lives Philly.
Oh.
They're doing the,
Church of the Advocate.
18th Street, 18th and Diamond?
We're doing it at town.
What
we're
time?
doing it at town hall. Yeah.
What time? Don't say
What is
9
it, 10
o'clock.
o'clock?
10 o'clock.
Don't say 9 o'clock in the morning.
No.
Alright, I can try to make it. Saturday's the only day of the week that I get to
No, but see, the
sleep.
thing is,
I hear you.
So I try
Now
not
you
to,
come out and get the scoop.
I try not to leave my house.
Oh, that's.
on Saturday. That's why when you text me, I was like, I'm in the house.
Oh.
Because
Yeah.
I'm
I got
really
about the
tired.
And I'm gonna have to, I have to.
I want to see
Okay.
more.
Alright,
And he's got some facts.
He said he always
I don't even wanna know what traffic I'm gonna see.
Well, wait a minute, no, you don't have to do all that. All y'all gotta do is get organized.
Yeah, you
Always,
know.
and you put the phone on the operator, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
Working
it.
on the time.
Yeah, you gonna be good. No, 'cause you gotta get it.
But
Well, no, she's gonna do us first, cause we gotta get you in here.
She wants the timer.
Can I do it first?
She wants
No,
to.
we
Quick
got
second.
it.
Got you. Quick second.
She said she was.
The first photo we're gonna take,
I know I gotta go feed
we're
the
gonna go
dog.
better. We're gonna have take that photo first, and we're gonna get you in the middle, we're gonna take the photo.
She's gonna put it up on there and get everybody.
That's cool, and then, that's fine, let me take my idea first, everybody can just give me a space to bring in. So the next thing is, everybody's going to the school.
Whoa, excuse me.
I don't mean, we're gonna hold it up because we wanna support the business.
Thank
So in
you.
case you didn't hear me, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do
First
one,
picture.
we're gonna do one with her, everybody's gonna get them,
Scoop,
the scoop.
scoop, baby, scoop,
Okay,
baby.
because we already promoted, I mean, it's safe to say, right? We already promoted the radio station today, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it looks like you.
Okay,
Wait,
so, let's promote the radio station today, we need to promote this
That's
as
a
well.
familiar
This is
face.
the whole thing.
Gigi Peterkin on the
Wait, we got Gigi on it, so I think this is the scoop.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So this is you, so you have to get in the middle of the picture,
I
of
love
course.
that.
James,
Um,
I need you to go that
You
way,
see how
James.
I'm gonna know? You see
I do,
that? You
I
guys did?
love that. I
So,
totally
You
love
guys
that.
did. I was like,
so your mom,
picture
your mom,
first.
so direct the traffic, you stay right
Don't
there.
stay.
So I got it on 5 seconds.
Last time they told me to hold something like this, it was this way.
Y'all got me in here.
That
You
way.
gotta get in.
I know, but
I'm hiding my stomach.
Listen,
come on.
last time someone told me to hold something, it said this
It
way.
might not be in here.
This
It's on
way.
5 seconds, so.
You gotta get it
Real,
too.
Everybody's in?
y'all gotta get in. You
I
gotta
know,
get
but I
over
wanna
it.
make sure everybody's in before I text.
Yeah.
We all
No,
in?
you gotta get it up higher. It's
Just
looking
gotta get
at, it's not looking at us, it's up at the.
Like that?
No, like just make sure you get everybody, we gotta get the man, we gotta have all of that here. Alright,
Y'all gotta move in.
alright, you gotta get over there behind James. Magazine show, look, everybody's holding publication.
No, we're not in it. James, take it down, bro. There you go.
No, we got somebody.
Okay, wait a minute, where are you?
Oh, wait a minute, that would help, right? Wait, I'm right over here. Okay, we're good. So y'all in?
Can you turn it sideways, then maybe that'll be better. I love,
We gotta get
I
Ron
love
in there.
business.
No, landscape.
No, she meant like,
Oh, okay.
And higher, that's why I'm saying you gotta get it up higher.
Oh, sit the papers underneath of it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's.
or my book or whatever you wanna put on there.
Like that? Then you
No,
get the table.
Okay, so.
I can lean down.
No, I can't get down.
Yeah.
So
We
just
can't
put them
do
on the papers.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Put it on the stack.
fantastic.
Hey, Tracy.
How you doing?
You should have used the whole
How
stack.
you doing?
I
sis?
know.
Hey,
Thank you so much
Because,
for the whole stick.
Thank you for
You
having
are
me.
so amazing. She just is. You are right.
Yeah.
Even though you got the paper now, but.
Right?
Even though we got the paper now.
We got the paper, everybody got the
Everybody
copy.
got the
There you
paper?
go.
Everybody
We're
got it?
doing it again.
So let me make sure it's set right properly, let me see how.
Yeah.
It's a lot better.
We're gonna move
When?
over a little bit. No, we're gonna move a little bit over to this way.
That's hold on. Y'all get it.
Everybody's in.
Alright, so here's what the problem is. The problem is you guys are very close.
We're in it.
We're in it, you're not.
I need to get it locked in to where everybody's messages.
He's the boss.
We're in it.
Well, we're in it, but
We're
you're
in.
not. That's why we move to the right.
Okay, let me see. Y'all good?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
it did
So
not.
you got it right.
That was
Yeah.
you.
Alright, let's get in.
That's not my
time. Alright,
Everybody's
ready?
in. Everybody's in. We got the
Everybody-
paper. Y'all ready? Ready? Ready?
Yes.
Sex. Oh, I I thought you wanted everybody to
I'll
smile.
second. Yeah.
This is on 5.
4.
Oh.
Everybody in?
You don't look
Yep.
right.
Do it again?
It was good.
Okay.
It was
Think
good.
it was good?
Alright.
Because the way I was going to have it set up is you in the middle, 2 women on that side, 2 on that side, and me and James on that side.
Listen, we're not doing a photo shoot for the daughter.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't help it.
Yeah, we-
I think you should get the scoop with us, with Gigi on it. Oh, I don't know which one's going to be, so I don't even need to be on it.
Well,
But,
your organization got to get one.
but the fact
Yeah,
that
go
her
ahead.
picture is on it, I think that's pretty cool.
They both on it. Sonya's
Yeah,
on
we
it.
all- I think
Sonya's
it
on
too.
They both on it.
Well, all of you get in on it then. I wasn't there for that.
Okay.
When Sonya giving the
Don't
whole.
try to you want for your
I know you
organization?
see her
We
with her
do.
feet.
Yes.
Watch, don't we're gonna rip this down.
Roof. Like slide. You see how you did that?
Oh, oh.
Like, I should do like you. It's easy to rip down.
Yeah,
I should do like you.
Like, you
Yeah.
girls are going like this.
Trouble. You see my hand about to go in my body.
You see the picture? You see the picture? She like ups.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Alright.
Oh, you gotta be fine.
Actually, you wanna know what else? Can I say something else? I ain't mad at you. We should be in front of that sign doing this.
You want that one?
Oh, really hot, hot, hot.
No, but the thing
Okay.
is, this is for school. This is something different. We did the radio. We gotta do the paper.
You wanna get in? You already?
Let's just take over.
No, I had to turn it around.
You wanna get in a picture with him?
No, I'm trying to get feet. I'm trying to get feet.
No, we don't need feet, just the waist up.
Hey,
No, don't just do the waist up. I don't want no feet. I don't want no feet.
I got it. I
How
got
my
it.
stomach?
Don't worry, I got it.
Well,
I got it. There you go. Everybody smile, look pretty. Got the paper in hand.
I love
Hot.
this lady.
Love you guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and. Sweet. Alright. Now listen. It ain't over yet. You gotta take one.
I'll take one
James,
more.
get that. Yeah, you
Come on,
need the
James.
government,
I need.
you need the government guys.
Government.
Government.
I'm gonna bring you a
You
copy of
gonna
my
bring,
book.
no, you gonna bring us.
You gonna be in our picture
You
too?
gonna bring the button next, huh?
You gonna be in our picture too?
Oh gosh.
I mean,
Oh, it's government.
I said no. I said yeah.
Oh, yes, okay, sure. I thought it was the government. Y'all
Okay.
Yeah, the government.
You don't want your hands.
Oh, I knew it.
Look what you did, James.
It's hard to put back up.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Nobody. Okay. Oh,
Hey,
man.
look what you did.
You're so funny.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wait a minute.
Where does it go?
It's like
You gotta push it up in there.
Push it up.
And I'll
Push it in. Push
I
it
know when you
in.
wasn't here, you left me here. I had
Push
an
it,
opportunity
real,
to
real.
examine it. Here you go.
You got it.
Yeah, look.
Now Saturday when you come out, you said
Oh,
you're gonna be there.
this lady.
I'm gonna maybe bring you a signed copy of my book.
Where?
Where outside. Say you ready?
The Church of the Advocate.
Oh, Church of the Advocate,
So we
18,
gotta
you
text
know one guy?
I know, I heard.
And
I know, I know. I know,
I'm gonna text y'all probably.
Yeah, yeah.
The only day I
If you were in a restaurant, where would you be?
Right there.
Right there.
Just
Outside.
We also just
Call
that. No?
Yeah, I mean, just hold it right there.
It should be, I'll send you, it's your MSN, it's your press, like I know. MSN is my private.
That's it.
No, 'cause it
So
comes-
that's fine. When you send the press stuff, usually I look for you and I send you to the office,
Alright,
but that other one is just.
let's back up.
That's why I'm saying, I was like, did you?
Okay,
I
now
was
listen,
like,
take the
no,
bottom part.
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Why
that's-
does it apply to the email
Take the bottom part.
Yeah, that's because,
That's it.
so you know.
So it comes out like, it goes in the corner.
Yeah, to the, well, that one's on the front too.
That's what I
That's
thought.
right.
Actually, I think you made it better.
Back is the editorial. It's real easy.
Alright, ladies.
Editorial feels
James,
good.
take the book.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know,
okay, I
think
sent
about
that,
it.
yeah, I sent that.
Yeah, that's great.
You want
Good
to
work.
take the side, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, just whatever the second one is. I'm sorry. Let me know.
Yeah.
This is what keep on
Just do the book.
The government guy. Government guy.
I'm dropping
Folks
stuff.
coming the government people.
Okay,
Hey,
I'm gonna drop
the
stuff.
scoop with the government.
Oh,
shit.
Oh, damn. You got it?
But you need to confirm.
But we just confirm it.
Oh.
Yeah. You're gonna send me, you're gonna send me an email. and I'll
So y'all had an
confirm
awesome
the
day,
sign.
right?
Yeah,
Well, actually, we were on a commercial.
We're on
So,
the Austin.
so
We made it so-
now-
we made it so long.
we're on a commercial. That's the longest commercial.
Wait,
we're
wait.
doing.
Are you serious?
Stop.
Thank you so
You
much.
guys are done, thank you.
Alright, I'll get the report.
Listen,
It's-
So,
No, I'll actually.
are we
my
done
brother-
or cause we left off and we will come back, so we done?
I'm thinking with the traffic,
I
I'm
think
probably
we
better
should
off
do a
staying.
sign out.
Okay,
Sign
so
off.
we gonna sign off, cause we
Yeah.
did leave with something.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'm gonna
my
thank
traffic
them on there.
comes to
For that.
I'm in.
I'm gonna thank them on there.
She's like, are we done?
Yeah, cause we on a commercial break here,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
So you got my car, right?
I'm gonna see you Saturday, I'll bring it to you. I'm
Where-
gonna sign a copy.
We're missing the monkey.
That's cool.
Oh,
That's me.
I'm gonna thank them.
Yeah, I was supposed to
for
do,
that.
Okay.
There you go.
No, thank you.
Them, I'm gonna know about the scoop because I don't know about it.
contact.
I'm gonna know about the
So I
scoop.
got y'all
How
card.
much traffic?
And introduce myself as well.
Keep doing the lot right
I
now.
love it. You have a lot of traffic.
6:30.
I mean,
6:30.
it's Bristol. Shouldn't have that much traffic.
You should be done.
So what we doing? We come back?
You know what you can do?
Good, boy.
Call Governor Chris. I'm sure he can.
So I was just
You
saying-
can just sit on the, you can just sit on the wheels.
Extremely busy.
You don't know.
I
I
know
was,
exactly what you mean.
I was
Extremely
fine.
busy, but it's okay.
I was harassed.
School business is good.
Because I talked about the Santa money and the millions of dollars that, are we on the air?
No, we're not.
No, but we
Use the
are.
microphone.
We'll talk.
Microphone.
I almost got jacked on that one.
No, I said the microphone.
Still your
Nice hot. Ask
It's
Tom
hot in
about
here.
It's hot, ladies and
Let me
gentlemen.
make I gotta get on the.
We are back, thank you for the
Yes, we
long
got
hold,
Twitter.
we had to take some group selfies and all that good stuff, but Really Hot is back, we are back, y'all, how y'all doing, thanks for tuning in, sticking around with us. We had an amazing group of people asking some amazing group of questions, but this is only just the beginning of it, so yo, actually, guess who popped in the building, boy? We got this scoop!
Yeah!
Boy! Flavor, I'm sorry.
It's the scoop.
Yeah, so the
It's the
scoop
scoop.
actually
It's the
came in
scoop.
scoop, but
Not scoop, scoop,
yeah, not
scoop.
scoop, but the scoop. But yeah, so you know what? You missed some stuff. You missed a lot of stuff, but that's not to say that we not gonna come back and do this all over again. Because actually, the 28th,
Saturday.
a Saturday,
Yes.
Philly Hot will be hanging out. Cause I actually have some people. My boss is gonna give me some people to help hang out with their group. So
What group? The March for Our Life.
That's
That's the group.
yeah, boy. So for those that missed it, March 28th, please tell us how they can come and hang out with
March for
All
Our
Out
Life.
Philly.
On March 28th, we will be at the.
April, I'm sorry, April. Oh my gosh, she's taking time.
You messing with my head.
Please come on April.
But don't wait till next year.
Yeah, don't wait. No, this year.
Come this year, April 28th, we're going to be at the Church of the Advocate at 1801 Diamond Street in Temple University area. We are going to do a town hall where we've invited some amazing folks from federal, state, and of course local level to come and have a conversation with the community. We are going to be starting at 10 a.m. So get there early to make sure that you can get a seat. It's going to be a really great, robust conversation. And if you have questions that you have to ask our government officials, this is the perfect time to do it. If you are concerned about things that are happening in your community, this is where the conversation gets started. So please come out.
Yes, please come out.
And
Please
you can register at March for Our Lives Philadelphia on Facebook. Admission is free, you do not need a ticket, but we would appreciate as many registrations as we can have, so we have enough of everything covered. We will have coffee, for those who are not early risers.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I also want to thank you guys for getting to know the march, and I'm gonna hopefully make it there on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it, and if you want me to, I'm there. I also want to thank this Scoop newspaper for making a surprise. I want to know more about what Philly Scoop is. I've never heard of it, so I still have a lot of time left before I have to leave myself, because I have another event to go to in my area. But thank you guys so much, and I look forward to working with you and your organization. And if anyone does want to come out and answer me questions or say anything, I will be there.
So apparently we have someone to offer it. If we need some food, they got us.
Oh,
thank you.
yes.
Thank you, David Batson. So he offered to bring.
Thank you.
Oh, David, you rock. Thanks, brother. We appreciate you.
marchforourlivesphilly@gmail.com. Or just DM us on Facebook at March for Our Lives Philadelphia. And I will be in contact.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
We work
much.
for food.
Yes. But you know, we appreciate that you came. And I know like we had communicated way before, so I did let everybody know that you were on the way. But we have the owner. Yes, we have the owner of the
You guys are so great. This is Community Black Paper. It's been in existence for 58 years.
Awesome.
My goal is to work with all of us, all of the groups in the city, to bring us together so that we can better our communities and learn to work together and tackle
Amen,
some of
sister.
the things
The
that
only
we're
way
all dealing
it's
with.
gonna happen.
So it is happening. It's
Yes.
slowly but surely. There are different things that are definitely working, and we're all coming together. My hope is that we can all bring all groups together, the young,
Thank
the
you.
old,
Yes.
Thank you.
and join and have a united front so that we can actually do some things as a group. I think that coming together is what's going to make the big difference. I love the fact that we have so many smaller groups, but I can actually see, like, in my
That's what I see.
beautiful mind, one big group of everybody coming together. And just as in the olden days, civil rights is setting through, everybody's working together on a joint front, and we just come together to get some things done.
Absolutely.
And that's my goal. So hopefully this paper can accomplish that. We can get people together, bring some groups together, bring some people all in one forum, so we can start making some things happen.
Yes.
Thank you so
yes.
much.
Thank you so much.
So let me say, I thank everyone for coming out. And normally what we do is we always ask our guests to leave our audience with something positive they can rest their head on. So from to my left to my right, I ask you to leave something positive for our guests.
Oh wow.
Or for our audience. Yeah, she gets to go first. You're on the hot seat.
I know.
As Miss
real
Philly
hot.
Joyce kept saying, hot.
It's hot. It's hot.
It is hot.
You know what? One thing that I've learned is to always be true to yourself, and everything following that will work out as long as you're honest and truthful with yourself. And that's one thing that I practice every day.
And Mr. Michael Robinson said that that's my boss. I write for the school. I love him. Go ahead, Miss Philly Joyce.
Well, you know what I always say, I'm always well. Someone's always worse. Because I think that no matter what, you gotta keep the faith. You gotta work together, and I think that one person, one business, one community really can make a difference. So be positive, go out there and change the world one person at a time. And thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
Awesome.
Name.
Sarita Lewis. I just want to say, you know what? You can change somebody's day by just giving a smile. So it's important to remember that there are people who have really big challenges you know nothing about. Don't take everything personal. Just accept that you can make things a little bit better, and change starts with you. So you don't have to wait for other people to start doing something. When you initiate change, it just works around for everybody. So do something little.
Thank you.
James Doherty, and I'm gonna leave this off one of my favorite quotes. It's actually by my favorite book, We the People. So we the people, for the people, and by the people, because that's what we are. We are the people. We are the ones who decide the votes. We are the decide the life, and we are the ones who leave a good, inspiring on the youth. So I ask, get up every day. Doesn't matter what you are, what background you come from, and never stop doing. Never stop grinding. Never stop hustling. Never stop doing whatever you want to do, and you can do it. Don't matter that no one stop you. This is your time to shine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
And the man that should be paying the phone bill.
Right. This is Mr. Public Relations for Hott Democratic Committee from Delaware County. I just want to take the time out to thank everybody for having me. I want to thank the Scoop. I want to thank the Hott Radio.
Senator.
And the Sentinel, of course, for calling in, everybody who's just blessed to be here with you guys in your organization. I love to come out and support anything you guys are doing. You can count on me coming around personally to come and support any friends who I have and any events that they have. I will definitely be there. You can count on me. But the takeaway from this, like I say, young people get more involved. Get more involved in the community. Get more involved in the things and activities that the hard work that these people are trying to do in your area. And we can achieve all things, all right?
Yes.
All right.
Radio.
Nice. Okay, Gigi Peterkin here with March for Our Lives Philadelphia. This is the second time I've had to go last and follow somebody's amazing work. Last time it was Dr. Ed Sutton, and I had to follow this like amazing preach. Now I get to do it again, but I'm prepared this time. So I'm gonna say to everybody, your voice matters. You have a voice and it matters. Talk until somebody listens, and if you don't think people are listening, call Miss Sonia here at Philly Hott for real, because she is here. And come over to March for Our Lives Philadelphia because we're here because we're listening. So, thank you.
Normally I get on Facebook
What's
and I always
yours?
tell
What's your
people to
part?
stay focused. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell people that if you can't regurgitate the positive, then you're about the negative. And if you're always in the negative, you're never going to see the positive. You're never going to be the positive, and you're always going to be in the negative, which means you're always going to be one of those Debbie Downers. But yo, I want y'all to stay focused. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, young and old. Oh, wait a minute. Some David is blowing me up. He wants to come on the show.
Is he bringing food? Is that the food day?
I don't know, but it's the food guy. But yeah, we want to find out if it's the food guy or what. But I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, young and old, thank you for sticking around for such a long time. This is the longest show we've ever had. But hey, Mr. David, but this is the cook, ladies and gentlemen. So, but anyway.
Hey.
But I thank everybody for coming. I thank you for coming because I know you traveled and to get here just to catch the ending of it. But I appreciate everyone that came, everyone that gave and their thoughts, their comments, their views to stay as long as y'all got families, y'all got lives and everything. But I'd love for y'all to come back. March 28th, Philly Hott will be there.
April 28th.
April 28th.
Wait a minute,
Just say this Saturday. Can you just say this Saturday?
Let's take some coffee.
Saturday. Yes, from
Saturday.
Oh my God. Yeah, something happened in March, but I hope whatever it is. But yeah, but anyway, we got the scoop paper and yo, we got David online and he's on Philly Hott and we gonna put you in the hot seat. But anyway, I need you to come back. We gonna wrap this up and yo, until next time.
Much off.
Listen, guys.
I forgot to say this earlier, but seriously, as a public safety announcement to everybody, I have to say this. Please, please, please go home. Get and take pictures of your social security, your driver's license, your passport, everything that you need, pictures of the inside, outside of your house, your cars, your motorcycles, whatever you own. Take pictures, document it, put it on a drive, do something with it, whether you're in this country, not in this country, it doesn't matter. You need your driver's license, passport, social security to get any one of your driver's license, social security, passport. So put them all together on a drive that, God forbid, something should happen, whether it's a fire, it's a tsunami, it's an earthquake, you'll have it to be able to recreate your life. Because if you don't do it, your insurance company won't. So take care of yourselves. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, that we can be giving our readers,
Got you.
and I'd be happy to do that for Scoop as well about how to prepare our communities to be safe.
Definitely.
But yes, thank you everybody. I swear somebody been drinking my water. I know I needed this.
When you get back out, yeah, I'm gonna thank you.
We're done.
We're
Done.
done.
Yeah,
We're
right,
done.
my
Well,
bad.
that's
That's right. Yeah, I give it up.
It's nice.
No, I haven't opened
That
it.
was-
That must be my, okay.
Yeah, the bonds over there.
Drink my water so very much.
Yeah. We had a meeting.
I'll give you a call back.
It was great to talk to you.
Thank you
We
for
had a
inviting
meeting.
me.
Oh, that's right.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Maybe I'll go with it. Is it funny? Did you just send somebody home?
You already get that.
No, you would yes.
Yeah. Councilman,
I'm sorry about
I mean,
that.
you can't tell this. So,
Somebody, ladies, I'm so sorry.
so
Good to see the energy so much.
Listen, I felt so uncomfortable because everybody kept calling and asking me questions.
Oh, that was totally
That was awesome.
Well, that's good. That's how you get reelected.
Thank you so much.
I was like,
You got to be my man.
they get mad at you for something like that.
They are really, oh, it was great.
Thank you. Thank you for
Saturday.
That was great. Good to see you.
No, I got like a hectic schedule, so don't feel bad. I'll say that on
So thank you for coming and see y'all. I'll see y'all Saturday. I'm saying
I've been getting emails and I always respond like, send something to me, not me as a, it's not me as a civilian. But to me as somebody who can actually get input.
So will you be able to come out on Saturday?
I'm gonna be out, that's the only day I sleep, I wake up so late. I work sun up to Sunday, I get tonight off.
It's not just this, it's not just.
So Saturday is my day,
That you kind of
God tries to stop.
That's totally hear you.
I literally died. Unfortunately, whenever things happen Saturday, because a lot of times it's hard.
Even when your teammates come out?
I'm gonna
Oh, you are?
I'm gonna go nobody. I get myself surprised.
Yeah.
I'll hang out with y'all for a little while, go back home and
Oh, it's only
take a nap.
till 12 o'clock.
That's what I'm saying. If I can come out and then go back home and take a nap, that's what I'll do.
Thank you so much.
That's
It would be such a delight. Where can we get your number? I mean,
So this
I would
paper
definitely-
is all of the smaller community outlets like the barbershop.
Oh, okay.
Like they go to every shop, right? They don't put them out
On the ground.
I know, I'm trying to.
I
They
go
don't,
ground.
they don't put them out in the front, they keep them in the
I
booth.
can do it Friday.
Because they fight over these papers, so they go crazy. So it's not sitting out on the pad, it's in the booth. So you gotta walk to the booth and ask her to give you a paper.
I would love to do one.
So
I'm gonna get mine
on time.
You don't need that.
Yeah.
I know about you.
You don't have to, you can call.
Like, I got the.
I do,
Or like,
yeah.
oh, call her, you can put some paper like she did. Where my, I'm like, I got you. I just put some up for you. Thank you. It is my pleasure, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Y'all, you gotta do some. I just need to figure I've been working with.
I'm sorry.
I've been
Nice
working with
meeting you.
like the people from the National Action Network, all of these older groups that are already set up, and I'm like, why can't we all
Work
just
together.
come together?
Yeah.
I feel like
Everybody wants to be one making the conversation.
But no, it's a
Yes, but I
conversation, you know,
think
at
there's
the end
arenas
of
and
the
stuff
day, the conversation, everybody has different focus, got it.
Right.
But the conversation starts at the exact same place.
Yeah.
If we can openly
I'll
admit
probably
that,
be home
we
You said
said
if
we
not
need
to
to
talk to
tackle
James,
the
you guys can get
foundation,
something from me.
and then all of
They
like,
can
if
find
you
a
get the
paid
roots,
position in the
so
Democratic
bad,
Party
so
somewhere.
We'll get you
get the roots,
a
it'll
nice
stop
spot.
growing. Like,
This is
we need to start focusing.
No,
Oh,
James,
no,
I'm serious, to not use me would be a waste.
No, no.
I
I can find someone.
But like, once you kill the root to anything,
If not,
and we
find
just-
something.
Look, I'm not looking for a handout, I'm looking for a handout, that's all.
like, it's human rights that are very, very small.
No, it's the casual.
Yes, I got a fly. It was such a
I gotta
pleasure
find
meeting
you.
you.
I'm not gonna get
Oh,
up there.
thank you.
Now that I got the scoop, I'll see you Saturday.
Plus, I
I'd
got-
like to learn
I
more
got
about
weird
it.
messages.
5
So
minutes,
it's nice to meet
5
you.
minutes.
Sorry.
It's so nice to meet
Why was I gonna
I'm gonna read your paper.
I don't know,
Sonia.
but yes, gotta have you come back. So you can talk about.
We'll talk about how
Yeah,
to be ready
whatever,
in
yeah.
any situation.
I got you.
So you're in Delaware County,
Yes, I am.
so
I love that
everybody
time,
down there?
sure, excuse me.
And then I will put that on my schedule.
Okay, and I'll,
Ron
For your
Banks.
send me a picture.
James, we'll see you later. It's a pleasure.
I'm actually gonna be back on the
But
radio.
when they get rid of it,
Where is he? What's the best way to get back home?
Yeah.
We're 9 to
Back
5.
on the
Actually, what's route 1 from
Okay.
here? Give me the route 1 and I'll be on my way.
Oh, I'm not personally gonna be on.
Yeah.
When you use my
Oh.
discuss that.
I'm gonna be on this.
You said you get me to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's just one-on-one. I mean, you can go in there. I got to show you that.
You said you would
Yeah.
talk to
No, that's it. I'm good.
So,
Right?
Alright.
read the paper and.
I am.
Let me
I
give you
will.
my card.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead.
James.
Yeah, I was just overwhelmed by all the scoop and the. I'm pooped, more like scoop. I gotta ride home and I gotta
Alright, that's cool.
go back to the
What else
office.
you got? You got another meeting?
I got some, but I'm not gonna go to it. No,
You got a Nissan Altima?
I got some I gotta
Nissan,
go.
I was like, I gotta call you something.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you.
Thank you very much.
I will.
I'm like, wait a minute, are these
Nice
my
meeting
keys?
you.
You see, I stopped, like,
I'm out
no,
of
I
here.
have an infinity.
I'm actually gonna go home.
That I may not have that much longer, so my husband's trying to get me out of it, so, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, because the reason why I say it is that they were here for so long, and everybody is not as fresh as I am.
Well, wait, before you do any of that,
as that goes, yeah. So they needed to get out. Someone needed to get out of here. Because when that's for Lakers, and I bagged myself. So go ahead, she was trying to. I remember being honest because I knew she wanted to say it too.
Yeah.
She comes back.
It's a little musky.
Yeah, they can get like that. And so what can I help you with?
So no, I just was a pleasure to meet you because I had reached out to him and then he said that there was somebody I could talk to and I wrote the name, but I don't think it was your name.
Right.
But we were working, of course, on the paper. What we've been doing is each week, moving into the election, we were informing our readers.
Right. So
last week we dealt with
I'm sorry, you don't have any air freshener here?
No, I don't. This isn't my office. I don't know what's in here.
Your office is not at one. It's over here.
No, I work in a different building.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I came here because Sonya wanted this paper. She wanted her picture.
Okay.
She wanted her stuff. No, this isn't me at all.
I looked at this paper. I was like, poor individuals. Oof.
Why?
I had a bad experience.
When?
Not too long ago with some of those folks.
Seriously?
Yeah.
The guys?
Yeah.
Are they your good friends?
Yeah. I mean, sadly enough, they're my very good friends. We're just not on the same level of business.
Okay.
And I had to find out the hard way that we wasn't on the same level of business.
Meaning?
Meaning I own businesses and organizations and nonprofits.
And they're not there yet.
They're nowhere near there.
Okay.
But they came when I met them. They came off as people who could talk the same talk I talk.
But they weren't able to.
It wasn't that they wasn't. It crumbled right before their eyes, basically.
Oh wow.
You know, they invited me, like the person I'm speaking of, Charles Roberts. They asked me to come to his networking event. I came. I realized that when I was there, I was the only person that everybody was asking business questions to.
Okay.
Only because of the people who know me. And I noticed that they wasn't like linking up or clinking. You know, it wasn't very successful.
It was fluff.
Yeah. You know, people were only talking to people they want to do it, and him being a person, they wasn't really trying to help people. You know, and I found out, well, why is it like this? I'm looking at all the people, I'm surveying the scene, and this is what I do. I help them. I say, you know, let's say we had a great event, a great time talking to you. I hope we can link up. I'm at a city hall meeting. I had 2 meetings that day, and he was my friend. He still is my friend. He was like, around this, I'm having a meeting up here in my offices. I'm gonna put you on my VIP list. Come over and do this. I was like, I'm having VIP. I'm straight. I get there, and you know, it's like a table out there, and people all coming in for this thing. And it was like, they had a sign, and I'm like, cool. Then I went into an auditorium kind of thing, like a seminar kind of thing. Auditorium. I'm like, I teach business. I mentor like 4 different organizations. Like I do that. Like usually when I'm speaking about something, it's usually like $75 a person here, and my room is packed. But I don't pocket that money. I reinvest it into other organizations and nonprofits. I go in here. I'm like, I'm not used to sitting in an auditorium where I'm sitting.
Okay, you're used to.
Right, talking or presenting. But then here's the thing. It's okay. But then here's the thing. I was like, they're trying to sell me a product that a person of my stature don't have the time to do. And when I found out that that's what it was about, I was like, you can't buy into a big business. You can't buy into a shopping mall or have a redevelop. Like I'll redevelop a whole community. You can't do that. You should. That's a pyramid scheme business. Like 5 links. I was at 5 links, and I was telling her about my experience that I had with some of these people in this picture.
Is this yours?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
So the thing was, I was like, I can't be. How can you ask a person like me to be involved in a business like this, where I get paid off of signing off people for a prescription and everything? I was like, I don't deal with pyramid kind of businesses, and I felt like he should have told me. He's sure, you know what I'm talking about. And I felt like as a friend meeting me for the first time, should have been genuine with me from the beginning. It don't matter to me. I can't.
Answer.
I don't worry about
It
it.
was on?
Yeah.
I don't worry about
Was
it.
it live?
It's Facebook. I mean YouTube.
Yeah, it's cool.
But he has to send it.
It's cool.
It's just recorded.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So we can take the.
Yeah, he can take all that. Yeah, I'm from
I ain't worried about that. I don't really worry about their pays and people they doing that.
yeah.
But that's what happened in that situation. I felt like he could have been honest with me, and I still would have respected him for that matter, but because he didn't, I was like, maybe friends and all, but I was like, I can't be a part of it.
We can't do business.
Yeah, because I'm
We
not.
can be friends, we just can't be business.
Yeah, I can't. Like he wanted me to he wanted to come to my companies and my employees and make me tell my employees to sign up for a service through him. I mean, listen, you talking about, I don't mess with 5 Links, Amway, Tracy Lynn Products, because they all the same kind of pyramid scheme business. I'm like, I have real businesses, but I feel like this, if you knew all this stuff about me already from the jump street, you should already know not to bring that to my attention. But because he did that in that way, anyone I know who is respectable, I'll tell them in a heartbeat. Like, listen, if I was you, this is what they're going to tell you to do. You know, they're going to invite you to a event here, and you're going to think you're going to be making real business contacts. And the truth of the matter is, they have those mixers to get you together to sign up for the shit. I told my friend, I was like, girl, you better not sign up for that stuff. I knew you was in the photo with them. But that ain't I want to know that. So, you want to work for Legal Shield, do you? Of course, I'm just kidding.
I actually